Hey, everybody, and welcome to Superhero Speak. I'm your host, Dave,
I'm John.
Are you?
and and JD is not here yet. I have no reason to believe he's not going to be here.
He's
And
probably he's probably finishing this up. Like this was a long read.
and,
I yeah.
yes, and of course we have X-Men news to talk about, and we've got to talk about Earth X. So of course I had to bring in my brother from another mother, the voice of the Omega Level Nerds podcast, D Squared. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. You know, the X-Men series just keeps kicking ass. So, I mean, it's I'm eating good as an X-Men fan, and life in general is just good, brother. So, thanks for having me. Love
Oh,
talking about this shit
anytime.
with you guys.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
anytime.
So let's vamp while we wait for JD to show up. Uh, John, how are you? How was your week? Did anything exciting and new happen to you this week? Anything good?
Well, nothing good, no, because that would be a change. Nothing bad either. It was kind of a wash this week. You know, like I had some really good stability, so I have literally nothing to report, which
That
is
that
which is good.
that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's spring. We're in Pennsylvania. Everything's starting. I spent 3 hours outside doing yard work today, and then 4 hours after that on the couch trying to be able to move a finger. So, about normal.
Yeah.
I've got nothing to complain about really, except making us read this thing. But
Come on. It's not that bad, is it? We'll get
And
into
no
it.
fun with it? Yeah, yeah.
no, Dave, it's not bad at all.
Okay.
Go
Okay.
on,
All right then.
continue.
How about you, Don? You haven't been on in a couple weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, you filled in for JD a couple weeks ago. But what's new with you? I know you've been playing through. Oh shoot, what's the game you've been playing through? Um,
Chrono Trigger. Chrono
yes.
Trigger. Yeah. Yeah, I actually
Ooh.
finished that up, so that's all done. 20th episode. It's kind of a super long one, but finished through that game. And now what I'm working on is, without doing any additional level grinding or anything, I'm looking to get the best ending, which you only do with two of the characters. It's hard, all that jazz. But yeah, the Chrono Trigger playthrough is up. It's done. So go enjoy that. Super fun game. And again, it was my little tribute to Akira Toriyama. So I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah.
Nice.
You played it through Steam, right? What did it originally come out
Hmm?
on? Was it originally a
Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Super Nintendo. Then they did do a re-release back on the PlayStation. They coupled it with Final Fantasy IV and named it Final Fantasy Chronicles, which that was really cool because that's where they added the full motion video that you can enjoy today on Steam. Outside of that, they did a remake of it or a re-release of it for Game Boy DS. So I've played every version, and it's always great. But yeah, so now on Steam, you can just download it on Steam. Fun, it's good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Huh.
only a 20-hour RPG. I mean, I remember being a lot bigger as a kid,
Oh, of
but
course.
I beat that thing in 22 hours. So it is not a slog whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because like you play, you watch these people play games that took you forever as a kid on speed runs. Now,
Hmm.
like that was the big thing for a while, and like, really, I could have done that and gotten the Master Sword a lot faster. And
Yeah. It was Star Fox for Super Nintendo. I remember playing that for hours and hours. It wasn't a really long game, but yeah, if you go to speedrun.com for Star Fox for Super Nintendo, I'm like number 16 or 17 on there at like 12 minutes. It's like, but it's like, yeah, I remember so much more effort as a kid, but yeah, like 12 minutes, boom, end of the game.
If we're going to talk about games, I did take a little bit of time to keep myself sane, and threw up Minecraft and threw up
Good.
a mod called the Skulk Horde, if anybody knows Minecraft, the skulk is something that was added in the last couple of years, and this is like you literally the mod is just this horde of skulk monsters that's slowly spread throughout the entire Minecraft world, and it's your job to try and stop it. And it's kind of fun. I added a few extra mods to it to make it easier because it's a really, really hard one. I don't have time to spend the next 3 months fighting the Skulk Horde while I'm trying to do everything else that I do. So, but modded Minecraft, still fun. Not through Steam, through oh God, what is it now? Hell, I can't remember. It'll come to me. Yeah, you just look up modded Minecraft and you'll come up with CurseForge. CurseForge is
Okay.
the client, and then you can just load up whatever mod pack you want. And there's the mod Skullcord, and there's a couple of mod packs with it in there that add a couple of mods to make it a little easier, like turrets and jetpacks.
No butts, because that's what I've been seeing with the new Fallout. People modding butts to look better. So it
Fallout
doesn't sound
4
like-
is gonna come out with a whole new DLC. Like that came out years ago, and it's still I don't know what it's got to be because the Amazon show. I'm on episode 4, but yeah, a new live action show Fallout on Amazon. Well worth watching, by the way, and. Yeah, like I'm seeing all this new renewed interest in Fallout, but 4 is getting a new DLC pack. It's really cool.
Cool. I've only ever played the mobile game for Fallout. I've never actually played the real
Oh,
game.
that's what is it? Was it Fallout Station, or I forget what it is. It's just
Station or shelter or something you build.
Shelter, Fallout Shelter. Yeah.
Yeah.
You create a shelter. No, Fallout 4 is a pretty open world game. I never managed to get all the secrets, because there are too many. And I managed one playthrough, but it takes if you like fool around a little bit, even just a little bit, it takes over 100 hours to finish that game.
Yeah.
So that and the 4 factions and all that, it's awesome.
All right. Still no word from JD, by the way. I did message him. Um,
So how about
You
you,
got
Dave?
the
How you been?
He got depressed after I read this. Go ahead, Dave.
doing all right. Can't complain. I have gotten back into walking. I walked 6 out of 7 days last week, every day. At least 2 miles a day. I did 4.5 miles yesterday, and by the time I went to bed last night, my entire body was sore. Just because I pushed myself, So, yeah,
It's good though.
but yeah, exactly. Gotta get back into con shape and be able to walk around
Concept.
convention all day. Yeah, and then trying to think what else. Not much. Just doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff for the podcast, and it's become more time consuming. What does Drew say? He is insulted by your bandana judgment. Oh, so okay, a little behind the scenes. JD posted a picture on Facebook. Said, I think I'm into bandanas again. And I said, oh, is that going to make a debut tonight on the show? And he said, yep. And then, I don't know. So, I'm sure he's very concerned. He's going to be here. Um, and then, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and then, I I've mentioned this before. The economy's really bad, so I tried to apply for a second job. And the only place that was hiring around me was a Hooters, and their process is they handed me a bra and said, "Here, fill this out." So anyway, there's your inappropriate joke of the week. But
That was kind of painless. I'll take that one over
Man,
some of the
tits
others.
for the win. Yeah.
trying to be, sensitive to John a little bit. No, not really. Uh,
Why start now?
so yeah. Oh yeah, I was saying like just trying to boost our numbers. Trying to get the word out there. So what I want to say right now is if you're watching, especially if you're watching after the fact, because, but if you're watching right now, click that, smash that like button. That helps with the algorithm. And if you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button and click that bell for notifications, so you don't
Oh,
miss
yeah, I
us
thought my
when we
head
go.
was gone.
You don't miss us when we go live on Sunday nights. And hey, Drew, that's not nice. And and
Nice.
all of our other great content that's been going up. We've been doing interviews every week. I've been doing a rant every Friday. I kind of ranted a lot about the Joker 2 movie, but we'll get into some of that as we get into the news this week. And yeah, so the other thing, of course, I'm all caught up on X-Men 97. I know, John, you were saying you're a week behind.
Oh no, I'm very, very far behind on that.
Oh,
I'm you know, I I don't think I don't know. It'll be a while before I have time for it. You know, between work and all the other stuff I normally catch up with and all that. Besides, again, as we were saying before, I'm the DC guy. You guys are the X-Men guys. I'll get to it because it's got so much, chatter about it. But I'm still working my way through Fallout 4 and all these other things that I'm trying to catch up on. So go ahead, discuss. Because I'm interested to hear about what you think. It's not going to ruin my experience.
okay. Well, the this episode was called "Remember It." The bulk of the episode takes place on Genosha. We have who is it that shows up? It's Xavier, Gambit, and Rogue all show up. And
Magneto,
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, who did I say?
Xavier.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he's filling Xavier's role right now. Uh, and
Did Xavier ever feel up Rogue? Or?
Oh God! No, that was the inappropriate joke. Thank you.
And basically, Genosha gets accepted into the United Nations, and then is attacked by Sentinels. What do they call the Bug Lake one?
Godzilla likes Godzilla Sentinel that birthed other Sentinels. Like you could say, like, oh, is that Master Mold? But I don't think it is. But yeah,
No, it's not Master Mold. There is a name. They have a name for it from the comics, and I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Now I remember they had Master Mold in one of the previous episodes of the original series, didn't they?
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is Master Mold like times 10, I guess. Just pure destruction. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Mega Master Mold.
It's like Kaiju Sentinel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, King Kong and Godzilla are hanging out in the DC universe right now, so
and we get a lot of death and destruction in this episode. I can't even think of everyone who dies.
Aren't they cleaning house again?
There's a massive fight between the Sentinels and Magneto, and he's using a chain as a train as a whip. That was a cool shot, I thought. Yeah. And then I mean, I guess the real shocker in the episode is the end of the. Well, there's a couple shockers. There's the whole the relationship between. Oh, look who showed up.
Hey guys.
Between Scott and Jean, and got very complicated in this episode. And then, of course, we got Gambit at the end. Oh my God! Talk about emotional damage. So we're talking about X-Men 97. Did you see the latest episode?
The greatest episode of animated television ever put to celluloid?
I think
Hey,
know.
hey.
John, no, John, I don't want to hear your anime bullshit right now. Okay, I don't want to hear your One Piece full of shitness. Right? We need to genuflect in the greatness that was X-Men '97 Episode 5 and what it meant to me as both a father and a man and a creator, and why I
Oh my
sat
God.
there gobsmacked for a good 20 minutes after the episode ended because it was incredible.
I'm sorry. Oda, Akira Toriyama, and One would all like to have a word with you,
okay.
man.
All right. So
But
And they would be wrong. I would say
They would. I'm sorry.
motherfucker, wrong.
okay. Wait, hold on, JD. So you running a little late.
I got pulled
We're
over
talk-
on the way back from Panera because I was doing my grad school work, and I talked myself out the ticket, a written warning.
Oh.
But he did keep me there a good 12 minutes.
Okay.
So, my bad.
I did. All right. So I did a quick recap of the episode. And I didn't spoil it yet. Of course, Gambit sacrifices himself at the end to destroy the Sentinel that's attacking. Which I mean, it was masterful. Like, I will say that it was masterful. But talk about, like, oh my God, that like hurt.
Not just Gambit, Magneto. You had Magneto, like.
Oh yeah, I was getting at that. That's when you came in. He was
you should yell
fighting,
spoilers, man.
using the
Fuck it.
train.
If you're
as, like, a
watching this
whip.
show, dude, if you're listening to our show, you've probably watched this by now. It's been it's been 4.5 days. You know, get on board or get out. Right? You need to watch this show. We watched a lot of crap, right, from Marvel that they put out. We had a lot of crap, a lot of bad shows, right? And they're putting out a good thing. So I'm telling you, you need to watch this. Magneto completely redeems himself, right? For the first time, we've seen Magneto. The redemption of Magneto for real this time. And you know what he gets for it? You know what he gets for it? Once in his goddamn life, for doing the right thing, for trying to help people, for being a good person, death. That's what he gets. Death. Like a hero. I had tears. Tears.
So there's a lot of theories running around about what this episode means.
Did you read Bo DeMaio's words?
No.
I retweeted it. John.
Oh,
did you
interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Bo DeMaio this is how he pitched this show to Disney. He said, I want to do 9/11 with the X-Men. He wanted to have that culturally defining moment for the mutants that changes everything. And he was inspired clearly by Grant Morrison's, destruction of Genosha, excuse me. And he also said his inspiration was the Pulse nightclub incident. Because he goes, I used to party at Pulse nightclub. He's like,
Oh boy.
I could describe the waiting room. I could describe every bit of it and how it changed me as a man when that happened. And he wanted to create that moment for the X-Men. By the way, mission accomplished.
That could mean a lot of different things, because
they did.
I mean, because with the 9/11 stuff is what I'm getting at, because we got the Patriot Act, unfortunately, because of 9/11. So
we might get something like that.
Yeah, like, I'm wondering if that's where they're going to go with this.
I don't know. I think what he meant by that was he wanted to generate a defining event, a defining tragedy that changes everything, which is what 9/11 really was for. We're all, I'm a early millennial, and you guys are Xers, or John's a baby boomer. So I mean, we were all. I'm on, right?
Yeah.
So we were all of age when 9/11 happened, what life was like for 9/11, and how things. I tell the high school all the time, like, oh man, dude, you used to just go to the airport and pick up just hang out there when their plane land. You have to tell anybody, you can just walk right into an airport. Like, you could get on a plane. Like, it was no big deal. You could just buy a ticket, get on a plane. They didn't search you. Like, in retrospect, stuff like, yeah, we just let anybody on a plane. Like, how did we get those box cutters on planes? Well, it didn't fucking matter. You could just walk right on the damn thing. Like,
you could actually, like, people would be shocked by this. Like, you could walk on, like, if you were meeting a child, you could walk on the plane and get the child after it landed.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, you can't do that today.
No, it's
So.
and in retrospect, it's like, yeah, we probably should have been able to do that. But I mean, nobody like we didn't have a reason not to till that happened. Like the world is different. It's been 20, almost 23 years, right?
Yeah.
And the world is different. So I think what Bodemire was talking. By the way, give him his. I don't care what he does. Fans, the man is as fuck, and has given us one of the best, probably the best adaptation of the X-Men ever. I don't care what he does in his spare time. He ain't hurting nobody. Give the man his job back. Like, he created a moment that we haven't seen really in like superhero fiction, like mainstream superhero fiction, right? Because you get the snap, but we all knew the snap. Like, the hope was they would undo it, right? And they did. That was the whole point. We're to undo the snap, and they did it. The blip, the snap, whatever you want to call it. This is different. Right. This feels like there's consequences to this, and that's what he talked about, is the consequences. And it wasn't
right, and
it was humanity, man. It was just, wow, what powerful writing, amazing shit.
I kind of think that was the intent behind the first Civil War, the first Civil War comic was to give the Marvel Universe its 9/11. But yeah, like, that's interesting. There's a theory I heard that Magneto faked his death.
Would it be crazy if shows up at some point again? No, it would not, because it's Magneto. But in that moment, the way the show is written, it was written as a redemption moment for that character. He was fulfilling what Charles believed he could be, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have it was really the death of Xavier's dream, is what we saw, and in that death, part of what died was Charles's vision for what his friend could be. And Magneto lived up to that in that moment, which is why it's so powerful, because Magneto was fucking right the whole time. Like, he was right. We shouldn't be with these people. We cannot trust them. You know, he was right.
I mean,
dude, I'm sorry. The Sentinel, the Master Sentinel came Morrison style, right? Total nod to Grant Morrison's run at X-Men, and wiped out Genosha. That's humanity that did that.
That's collectivism.
Probably the American government that did that.
We will find out more. We will find
out.
I
mean, that's the whole thing, because, I mean, hey, how many people claim 9/11 was an inside job just to
those
make
people
sure we could go to war?
Those people are wrong, but
dumb. But
yeah,
I'm not a conspiracy guy. Sorry, Mike Gilbert. But this is the worst of humanity, and this is not would not be a surprise. They've been setting us up for this since the premiere.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
they built
definitely.
They built to it beautifully, and like, man, what a great episode.
And let's be honest though, it's a comic book show. It's the X-Men. There's time travel involved already. Like, there's a good chance I think they're going to reset that event.
Are they?
I don't think they will at all.
I don't think they will either.
Because I know.
All right, I hate to ruin this for you guys, but they did. Did you watch the mid-season trailer that was released?
No.
Okay.
What did you see?
They already spoiled something. They showed Gambit is still alive.
Oh, it's bullshit.
I expected that. I expect him and Magneto to be still alive, but as far as those other tens of thousands or possibly million of mutants that are dead, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
And the reason, and here's the thing, kind of really two things that people aren't talking about is a lot of people have expressed trauma with this episode, right? Like, oh my God. And I could tell that they're not comic book X-Men fans, and that's okay, because I'm not a gatekeeper. I want you to love X-Men no matter what. But just so you know, like that meme with the guy getting hung first time, the mutants going to an island, being happy, which is what they've shown for the first 15, 20 minutes of this show, and then getting fucked is a trope. It happened on Genosha. It happened on Utopia.
Utopia.
Which, by the way, the Avengers helped with that one.
They did.
And it just happened in the comic books with Krakoa. In fact, it was Orcish who uses Sentinels and shit in Nimrod. They just fucked Krakoa up. They just killed Magneto, who actually, I think, as of this week or last week, crawled his way out of hell. So when we talk about is Magneto dead, Sure, but for how long?
Right.
But so just, for those people that don't know this already, what just happened is unfortunately a trope of the X-Men. They
Yeah.
gather on an island, they get fucked. And then we all go, "Oh shit, Magneto was right." And we'll see where they go from there.
As always.
Um
Speaking of getting fucked on, what was your thought on them adapting the Morrison? They kind of they did the mental affair, but they instead of doing it with Emma and Scott, they did it with Maddie and Scott. And I wanted your opinion because I was moved by Madeline Pryor, right? Because she's a character that really got a raw deal in the comics. Like
right.
she was a victim of Jim Shooter just wanting to bring back the original lineup and doing the X Factor thing, and they just made her kind of go cuckoo banana crazy, when she's probably the most sympathetic character in the history of the X-Men. And I really love her arc here. I like that she gets to be her own person, and I like that her and Scott still clearly love each other, and they have their son. And I thought they did not redeem, but they really did right by Maddie and made her her own person, and they freaking killed her. And I was just like, it hurt, man. That whole episode really hit me hard. I love how they adapted the thing that Morrison introduced with the psychic affair. What was your, as a hardcore, probably the hardest core X-Men fan I know, what was your thought on that?
Well, my thought is I thought it makes just a whole lot more sense because the way it went down in the comics where Cyclops is just like, "Oh, you're not the Jean Grey? Okay." It makes way more sense that he would have residual feelings. That is the mother of his child, the only other person on the planet right now that can have the psychic rapport with him. Jean Grey, the real Jean Grey, not even really knowing herself yet, them dealing with that. So I think not only was Madeline Pryor streamlined, redeemed again because she's not just freaking out as a scorned woman. I think what makes a lot more sense. Absolutely, I enjoy it very much. And outside of the Madeline Pryor thing, when we talk about redemption, you talk about Magneto's redemption. Some of you may see this as a stretch, but as a comic book X-Men fan, we talk about Gambit. This was a Gambit redemption as well. And you may say, what do you mean? Gambit never did anything wrong. Maybe not in this show, but in the comics, he did a brief stint as one of the Marauders, specifically one of them that was sent down to kill the Morlocks. And he did that shit. So in this episode, he was the one that saved the Morlocks.
Love that, man. Love that so much.
Yeah. So when we talk about powerful, that was, for me, that was not lost on me. I'm like, oh, cool. Oh my God. Real time. I was like, holy fuck. Gambit's getting a little bit of redemption here.
Is it me, or is this like the most heroic Gambit's ever been?
Absolutely.
I thought
Absolutely.
too.
Because I thought, Gambit's lame. I don't even like Gambit that much.
Yeah, I agree. Gambit sucks. He's a look. Gambit is a look.
Yeah, and I also think he's kind of written as a very selfish character at times too.
Yeah. Because he is, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, because people are like that. That's a realistic character trait. People get selfish. I had a selfish moment today that I had to work myself through. So I mean, it happens. But I just thought the way they just delivered on Gambit worked. Drew says Gambit hasn't lived up to his cool guy hype. They gave him a moment. Yeah, I agree with that. And probably the most powerful moment in the history of the show.
Yeah.
Going back to 1992.
And I think the other thing I was going to mention from the trailer that I'm looking forward to, they didn't show him, but they have obviously hinted at Captain America is going to show up in the second half of the season. So,
which makes me wonder where
we're going. Pitch him out, right? Because Cyclops just went apeshit on live TV, right?
Yeah.
I think Cyclops is in a mood, and if Captain America is going to come around after the fact, I don't know. I think we're about to see some more good writing. That's just me.
Scott was right too. Like Scott's whole little diatribe he fell into, he's 100% right. Like he saw it. And Scott, that's the beauty of Scott, is that he's very much like the child of Charles and Magneto, right? Because he kind of straddles that line between what they are. Like he's not he can be as hardcore as Magneto sometimes, and other times he can be the child of Charles Xavier. And he's a very interesting. He's almost kind of like the Batman and Bruce and Dick. Right, where you've got those elements, but you're still who you are and your core. Because I mean, Dick Grayson, that wound background, but he never fell as dark as Bruce did, right? And though Scott is essentially raised by Charles, quite as hopeful as Charles is, but he never gets quite as dark. Does like dark moments, but he always seems to find his way. He seems to always find, depending on who's writing him, like 60 years of a character.
Let's say Bendis wrote him dark.
Bendis
wrote him very dark.
Probably the darkest
Scott
he's ever
Summers. Been. Oh, sure, absolutely, and that's the terrorist Cyclops, right?
Yeah,
like we're talking about Boy Scout Cyclops and terrorist Cyclops. Like
that's that when he was wearing the overcoat in the comics.
No,
okay.
He had a big giant X on his face, and he was on a team with Liliana Rasputin, of course, Emma Frost, who, by the way, I loved in this episode because every time she spoke, she was being a bitch, and
that's
I loved
it. Emma's a fucking
yeah.
bitch, but she's our bitch, right? So I guess here's the question. My buddy Jeremy, I was talking with him about this. He seems to think that she's going to play a much bigger role in the rest of the series. Which would make sense.
I think it does make sense, and I think the way that we're kind of seeing Jean Grey and Cyclops split off a little bit, I think we could see a possible Scott Summers and Emma Frost.
Scott's trauma coming out of this because he didn't have the baggage with Maddie that he has with Jean. Realistically, like when that thing was working, it was Maddie that he was in love with, not Jean. And now Maddie's gone, and Jean is like, oh, Logan.
Logan,
so,
and I want to be the Phoenix and fly off and shit.
Yeah. Which is, like I said, it's made so much more sense because Maddie's like a far more homey version. And I think Scott's going to have some trauma on this. The mother of his child is dead.
That's an interesting point, too, with the whole Jean says the universe was calling to her and she wants to go off and be the Phoenix, but she doesn't even know if that was her or Maddie.
It was, Jean Grey, like Maddie does not have the Phoenix. I'm with JD on that one. I think that is Jean Grey, Phoenix member.
Okay.
Because Maddie never talks about that. Maddie always like Madeline. That's the Madeline Pryor character. She just loved Scott, and it's one of I find her comic version to be like one of the most traumatic characters in like comics history. Like this is a woman who did nothing wrong, She got super jilted and then got turned into like a terrible, terrible villain. And like I said, Bo DeMaio and them just did such an amazing job with her and like makes it sting. Like her death makes it stings so much more. And it's just going to mess Scott up. And that's the mark of good fiction. Well, I love this show.
Well, speaking
Bo
as an
DeMaio
outsider,
got killed.
Speaking as an outsider, sorry.
I was like, did you catch Bo DeMaio getting killed in the show? Like he was animated into the show.
No, I missed that.
Part? Yeah.
No, I didn't catch that. It's pretty cool.
It did take my third watch to see The Watcher. Sorry, go ahead. This is.
I had no idea. I had people pointed out to me The Watcher was there. I didn't miss that. I had no idea that The Watcher was. And then I saw the screen cap. It's pretty subtle. It's pretty subtle, actually.
Yeah,
very
it
easily
is.
To miss. So cool for not like going all ham on it and making it super obvious.
All
Sorry,
right, John, as an outsider.
As an outsider, normally DC has kicked Marvel's ass as far as animation is concerned, but this sounds like between the writing, basically because of the writing, Marvel has really, come into its own here. Like this sounds exactly like what you guys are hardcore Marvel fans, and this is like scratching every area for you. Apparently,
this is all I ever wanted out of X-Men content. But the secret sauce here, John, is Bo DeMaio has a true passion for the subject matter.
Right.
And you can tell. I mean,
they had somebody write for it that actually liked the material.
It wasn't they hired someone. He fought for this. He pitched this to Disney. He went to Disney and said, "Hey, I want to continue X-Men 92." Can you imagine the look on their faces when that conversation happened? Like, I want to do a cartoon that got canceled 25 years ago, and he said,
"I want to animate on the thirds."
Well, that's
that's
an interesting story about that. So there was 5, I think, seasons of the original series. They only thought they were going to do 4, and like you can tell at the end of the 4th season that was wrapping up. And then Like they were like, no, we want to do it this season, and they hired a different company to animate it, and that's why like it stinks. And then because it was so bad, they canceled it. But like, it really technically wasn't canceled. They just only ordered 4 seasons.
It kind of was canceled. But like, here's the thing: is that we give Disney a lot of shit for executive. We talk about executives being stupid all the time. Like, it's a talking point amongst our community.
Right.
You have to give Disney a ton of credit for having the balls to do this stuff.
Right.
I can't believe this passed. I can't believe they greenlit all this and washed it and said, yes, like this is the most non-Disney stuff that Marvel has done. It's actually the best. I think it's the best thing that I truly believe this is the best thing Marvel has done probably since Spider-Man Homecoming, and it might be a little bit better than that. Or Spider-Man Far From Home. What the last Spider-Man? I can remember I can never keep those straight.
Yeah,
they're looking
No Way Home.
for something to put on Disney Plus to drive to continue to drive their membership. B, they're looking to bring the X-Men into the MCU. So, you know, I mean,
Perhaps
there may have been
before
other things that kind of helped this along, but it is still kind of it still sounds like it was kind of a long shot that it got greenlit.
Well, he's not on the show. Long shot.
Oh, nice. And I know who Longshot is. That was one of the people. One of the characters that I actually liked. Okay,
Three-finger mullet man.
Good one.
Oh, Kassan says, I wonder how much non-X-Men enthusiasts miss from the story because we don't have the depth of character background that you guys do. I wanted the show to be longer to allow character work. Well, that's the thing too, is it's a continuation. It's actually to shine in its own merits. So I'll finish that. Like, and here's the thing: is it's not. Excuse me. It's not a reboot. Like,
no, it's a continuation.
It's a continuation, but it's also a maturing. Right? So I mean, like we were kids when this show was out, so they've allowed the material to grow with us. So it got to grow up with us. And if I truly believe if you don't have that background, if you weren't a kid watching, like again, I was in junior high. Don and I are both junior high age when this thing came out. So I mean, if you didn't have that background, it probably doesn't land with you like it would with us. But you know what? That's okay. There's a ton of other adaptations of these. This is one of the things that I think steer in even more is that like something can speak to one part of an audience and not another. I think Kassan, I don't know if you've watched it or not, but I think that you can respect like how good the writing is. Maybe the character modes don't land for you quite as hard. Like if I just jumped into One Piece, like just a random episode that John likes.
Oh man,
and
no.
I'm not going to. Believe me. I can respect good storytelling, but it doesn't work with me the same way it works with other people. Like here's a great example. I do not watch WWE professional wrestling. I have no tie, as I wear my New Japan hoodie, bandana right now. I have no ties to anything. I have no emotional connection to it. But I know that the Bloodline thing with Cody Rhodes finishing the story is a good, successful wrestling story. I see what it means to the people that are enjoying it, and I see how much it's touched the people that have followed it for years. It's not for me, but I can respect what it does. I think it's okay for people who can see what in that specific 5 of X-Men has meant to its core audience and go, okay, maybe not for me, but it's working for you, so that means it's good.
And Dave, I know you're trying to move on, but
why? This is better than our topic for tonight, so might as well keep talking about it.
I know.
We got news to get to too.
Just a thought though. What you said is actually kind of prescient because for a lot of fandoms.
Sorry, I didn't read that first part.
For a lot of fandoms, the history that you have in the stuff that you've watched and read and everything actually makes the later stuff more interesting. So like your thing of One Piece, yes, if you jumped into episode 400 of One Piece, it wouldn't hit half as hard as it did if you'd watched 1 through 399.
Yeah.
And like the stuff doesn't hit me as hard with the X-Men stuff because I collected DC back in the day. I collected very little X-Men, if anything at all. So like for you, this is like, and I'm enjoying watching your reaction to how well this was written, because I always enjoy hearing that something good got written and got put out. So
I'll also say that, like, another way to look at it is, if you're not a reader of a comic book series, a great example, The Death of Gwen Stacy. If you've never read a Spider-Man comic and that's your first comic and you pick it up and you know nothing about the character or very little about the character, that death is not going to hit you as much as somebody who's been a fan reading it up until
unless
that
you're
point.
Dave, in which case you pick that up and go, if something feels right about this.
No, stop it. I like Gwen Stacy.
Celebrate, yeah, snap.
Spider-Gwen is not the same character. Jesus.
That's right. She has personality, unlike the original Gwen Stacy, who just bitched about.
You know what?
I've read those books, Dave. You cannot pull this wool over my eyes.
We're gonna skip social media madness this week. We're running long on this.
Thank God.
But if you would like to follow us on social media and be part of social media madness for next week, here's a good friend Don to tell you more.
How's the show going? You join it? Do you want to be part of social media madness? And go ahead and head over to superheroespeak.com, where you can find all the social links, episodes of the show. You can find comic reviews by Chris and other articles. We're posting stuff on there all the time. And while you're there, check out the rest of the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. Great shows like the Pop Prison Power Podcast, Colt 45, Fans on Patrol, the Gorilla Brain Podcast, So Wizard, and Superhero Speak. Hashtag GW All-Stars, and you will not be disappointed. So make sure that you are engaging with the Superhero Speak Twitter post whenever they come up. Give us your best comment, and you may make JD say this.
I get so tired of these dumb motherfuckers.
All right, it's back to the show.
I much prefer. I don't like the dumb motherfuckers and me coming out sounding like a lech.
Well, you know.
I started to record a new one today, but I kept fucking it up.
Dave will keep playing the one because he knows I don't like it. So like that's going to be in the rotation whether I want it to be or not. Drew says this episode I don't think needs much X-Men 92 background. Rogue, Gambit, Magneto, Triangle is new to 97. You know, I actually agree with Drew. A lot of what's going on in that series is prescient to what's happened now as opposed to what happened years ago. But you have the weight, you know, like you have the emotional tendrils connected to those characters from years. I mean, if you don't know who Gambit is, his death isn't going to hit you as hard as it would for like us.
Yeah. No, but seeing the other series, I mean, it gives you a little bit of flavor, you know, when Gambit's talking to Nightcrawler about, you know, all those killer monks, like, you know, that shit happened, you know, back in the original series. So you get to enjoy that, but I absolutely agree. There's nothing you needed to watch to understand the brevity of what fucking happens in this episode. Like,
right.
It's so good.
All right. While you're here, folks, please smash that like button. It helps with the algorithms. And, of course, hit the subscribe button. Click that bell for notifications so you don't miss us when we go live on Sunday. You don't miss our other great content. And on that note, we'll take a quick commercial break. Didn't get a new one yet, so this will be the one we've already seen. But
dang, way to call Randy out.
Back. Yep.
Some podcasts are like this.
You like dry burgers or wet burgers? What kind of a question's that? I want this thing to come in my mouth. What a wild thing to say. What an insane.
No, but I understand
what an insane thing to say.
But I know what you mean because I want a burger that's like the cheese is so melted and I want to squeeze it and it's like disgusting. It's like a swamp of like cheese and like wet. What is that?
You ever do something and immediately regret it?
Yeah. That's fine. Well, obviously that's going to be a clip.
And some podcasts are like this.
And you use it to pry out this lid, and the inside is just a little tiny ball.
Plutonium.
And it looks so freaking cool. It'd be a really good piece to put on my desk or something.
There's no way that's real. It's real. He destabilized the core when it dropped. It broke, and literally he just got fried with radiation.
And he died?
No. Yeah.
I was about to make fun of the way he talked.
I would, but then I found out he died.
And we would never.
We never talk about it.
Josh!
What?
You can't do that.
Tough week, Josh.
Bulldog.
Stop.
Dude.
Joshua.
Week in radiation.
I'm in a bit of a pickle right now.
Is this freaking Chernobyl right now?
Oh no.
But only one podcast is where you can get in-depth analysis like this.
They tested out and realized that it does bubble when people get pissed off.
Mood slime.
Mood slime. saying that out loud sounds different. We all have it. We all seen it.
It's the slime that comes out when you get angry or upset.
Speaking of which, did Egon fuck the slime? Why did they get accusatory and why did he get super defensive all of a sudden? It's like, you didn't. He's like, you didn't.
You didn't sleep with it. You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray? And they're like, I got blown by a ghost. I think I would. Fuck it.
He was trying to conjure the ghost back. He just dips his dick in it. Come on, come back.
You are now listening to Cult 45.
This is Beat 'em Down.
And I'm Random Randy Savage.
Find us on all your podcatching apps like Podbean or Spotify. And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or just go to www.cult45podcast.com.
Also, check out our YouTube for that sweet, sweet video content.
Cult 45, the only podcast that puts hair on your chest.
To be fair, Ray's tryst with it was a dream. Like he dreamed.
You blanked out there for a second.
Oh, sorry. To be fair, his tryst with a ghost was a dream.
Oh,
Maybe.
that was it was a
no,
it
no,
was
maybe.
kind of a,
Very clearly. They have the camera goes before it happens. That is the universal sign for dream, as we were all educated by Warner Brothers in the 1940s.
Yeah, they even got the musical sting for that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dream. When are you guys going to talk about the latest Bluey? What you do in your private time, Drew, is up to you. I don't need to talk about it.
All right, let's talk a little.
It's actually Dave's usually topic of conversation, so.
What?
Now you could get, your girlfriend talk. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I got
Why would
Dave.
we talk about Bluey?
I actually watched Bluey today. That's so sad because I have
you have little
daughter.
Yeah.
What happened to Bluey?
What?
I assume John thinks Bluey died or something.
Oh, okay.
Right. He was snapped.
Let's do a little news, and I'm going to start with the article I sent afterwards. I don't know if you guys saw that email.
If I knew the show, I could make a joke about Mr. Stark, but I don't know the show very well, so I got.
We did a whole bunch. We did a whole thing on the last Ronin last year, and then we went to Comic-Con and got to interview all the people that worked on the book, which was a lot of fun. And now it has been announced there will be a live-action R-rated version of that story being produced over at the.
Wow.
Is it Warner Brothers? No.
Paramount.
Paramount, yes. And Walter Hamada is going to be the producer on it.
So Ray Fisher will not be in this movie, is what you're telling me.
Ooh.
That's bad. What do we think? Like, A, do we think they could do this story justice? And B, are non-Turtle fans going to appreciate this story?
Who gives a fuck what the non-Turtle fans think? I don't care. I'm so tired of people trying to appeal. Well, what does the common person think? I don't care. Make movies for people that like them. Don't make movies for people who don't like things. That's a terrible way to do business, and I'm sick of people trying to do business like that. Stop trying to make things Victoria. Just make them good. Can they do it? Yeah, sure. Why not? Good?
How do you really feel about this, JD?
No, I have this conversation on my wrestling podcast all the time. It's like, well, how do we get people who don't like this to care about it? You're not. They don't like it. They've already made their decision. Who cares? My wife is never going to watch a Ninja Turtles movie. She does not like the property. I'm not going to try to appeal to her. That's okay. She doesn't want to be appealed to.
Okay. Hey, you know what? I respect that opinion. Oh my God. Drew's going on about Bluey.
Drew says Blue had a 20-minute episode instead of an 8. FYI, John, my favorite episode of Bluey is when she dies and goes to heaven. So Bluey did die? Secondly, Bluey's a girl. I didn't
Bluey
know
is
that.
a girl, yes.
I never watched the show.
Both
I
the
need-
kids, Bluey and Bingo, both girls.
I need to check my gender by. Assume Bluey was.
That was because
But,
blue is a boy's color. Come on now, what's wrong with you?
I think about that. My main character's a boy because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, well, you are.
This
John,
sounds,
what do you?
this sounds as prodigious as episode 100 of My Little Pony, but anyway.
John, what do you think of the idea of a live-action Last Ronin?
He doesn't.
Processing.
Too much alcohol?
As I recall from our last Turtles show, I don't think John has connection to the property of the Turtles. So
No, I do. I just they can. Okay, this goes back to something that JD said. They can do this well, but will they do this well? You said live action. If they were going to do this as an animation, definitely it could be done. There's a high level of chance that this would be done incredibly well, especially if they decided to let some of the animation studios in Japan help out with it, because I mean that would be the perfect marriage of what it's supposed to be. But doing a live action, there's a lot of baggage there, and they've historically they haven't we've had some good adaptions of manga and cartoons cartoons and comic books, but those are the exceptions.
So
yeah. So your concern is the fact that it's live action as opposed to animation.
Well, it's a good. I think it's a good thing to start. Like you're talking about getting people interested. Well, this would be a good way to get people interested because it's a really good story. But it could lead to people getting into it. But doing it live action, you're rolling the dice unless you're going to put money into it, man, and make good decisions.
Well, here's the thing: is I think John feels that when you have live action, you're going to get far more studio interference. Whereas if you do animation, you're kind of left onto an island of yourself.
You do.
Well,
and historically, that's true. Yes.
Here's a thought I have, and I know Walter Hamada watches this podcast, so he'll take this. There's a lot going on in the show, and of course, there's a lot of flashbacks in the story. You could do the flashbacks animated and have it look like the original comic, and then have the live action stuff going.
Good.
That'd be an interesting marriage.
Can I be honest?
I don't. That's not been done before, really.
But to your point, John, I think that there is going to be a lot of effort and money put into this because there's going to be a video game of this coming out soon.
Yes.
So this whole property is going to blow up.
There's a definite resurgence of this story. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think that this is going to be introduced to a wider audience, and it's a great concept, right? For us to know about it, you're like, okay, one turtle survives, all the other three turtles are dead. And oh, by the way, we find out that as these turtles age, they basically become more and more invincible.
Yep.
So you've got like the most fun-loving, partying turtle. He's the last. Sorry, spoiler alerts. He's the last one, and now he's like an invincible killing machine, but still dealing with the Foot Clan and all of that shit while having this emotional baggage with his brothers. Like, I don't know, man. I think this whole property is about to blow up big time. I
hope
really
so.
Can't fuck it up.
Well,
it's got some really good story. There are some really good stories in the Ninja Turtles area. I like it deserves more respect and more fans. Really,
Dave hated the Seth Rogen Turtles because it was just he thought. I remember you said it was soft. Like this seems like a swing in the other direction.
Yes, yeah, that's that. I will say that. Like this is a complete departure from any kind of sophomore humor. You really can't do that in this movie.
Nor should you.
Right. So Don, are you a Turtles fan?
Oh shit, yeah. Dude. Please, holy fuck. When I was growing up, I had them on my bed, my curtains. I had the fucking Technodrome, the blimp, the fucking holy shit.
So this is a movie you would look forward to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And then hopefully we'll get to the whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover.
Oh
That's
my
great.
god.
I don't know if
Right?
that's gonna
Green
happen.
Ranger Shredder. I mean, the Turtles get their own Turtle Zords. I mean, come the fuck on. All
Yeah,
right.
and when they rapped with Vanilla Ice, that was awesome too, wasn't it?
All right, stop right there, John. Stop
Whatever.
right there.
Okay, boomer. Yeah, so Don and I are right.
And then fought,
Don and I right now.
Kevin Nash, Super Shredder.
I always remember that.
Super
Shredder, Kevin Nash.
Kang.
See, you don't know about no Kevin Nash. No, see, Don and I are right in that sweet spot of like turtleness. So we were like right at that perfect age when like the property just completely overtook our lives for a good 2 years.
I bought their stupid fucking cassette tape from.
Me too.
Right,
to it.
because I will say that
Turtle power.
Like I would say for my generation, the original comic, which is really dark, is what appealed to a lot of us, and that's like why that took off. But then you guys are a little bit younger, and like you were the fun-loving animated series, video game, all that crap. Yeah,
and we looked at the Neds and go, why do they all have red bandanas?
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, how am I supposed to know which one is actually Raphael?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes perfect
by
sense.
The size.
Well,
going
by the size of what, Dave?
Yeah.
No, that's the name of his weapons.
I thought you were talking.
By
I
the
thought you were
side,
talking about.
nice.
I thought you were doing turtle girth over here. You're like, oh, you know these turtles intimately, apparently.
Very intimately.
You know how long turtles are, right? In that.
No, John. How long are the turtles?
It's longer than they're almost longer than
I
their body.
bet
Anyway,
it is.
so
I bet it is.
Just going back to my generation when this came, when Teenage Mutant Turtles came out, was we had the same reaction as when we heard Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We're like, what the hell is a Teenage Mutant Ninja? What is this crap? Like,
all I gotta say
but then it turned out to be as big as it was, and there were all these crossovers and everything. Like, and the storylines were good. The original comic was awesome. So
all I gotta say is when it comes to turtle girth,
what are you doing? We don't do that here.
I beg to differ, sir. We do that only around here. This is what we do.
Oh, this is a great episode.
All right, so I think we're all on board. We're all on board. We'll see this when it comes out. And I got to say, we always say that you don't know until things are actually being made. But I think if Walter Hamada is behind this, there's a good chance this is getting made. So
it seems like there's enough power behind it. It's really going to come down to who the filmmaker is. You're going to need a guy who really cares about the property, who really wants to make a Ninja Turtle movie, whose name is not Michael Bay.
Or Zack Snyder.
Oh God, they're going to hire Zack Snyder.
Oh God, they wanted dark, right? Like the original.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to see how dark the story is, and they're going to do some. Oh my God!
Stop! Do not talk that into an existence. Oh my God!
Unfortunately, I think
I'm gonna take a drink
Zack
now.
Snyder, he likes the black and white shit, which the original Turtles comic
It is perfect for him.
Stop!
Oh, and they've worked together before. Oh my God!
What are you doing? We don't do that here.
We're gonna get Zack Snyder's Ninja Turtles.
Stop!
Oh my God!
All right.
I'll start training for a 5-hour movie.
Let's move on. The big news this week, though, is we got the trailer for Joker 2, or how do you say the name of it?
No one can say that. It's French.
Part 2, Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux, I think. Which basically means
pretentiousness. That's what I call it.
It basically means a delusion shared by multiple people.
I stand by what I said. Oh, Kassan says, I think the last Ronin will have some appeal. The same appeal as Logan. Good call, actually. It'll surprise people with $1 billion gross if they nail the turtle costumes right and don't script the story. Yeah, spot on, dude. I agree 100%. It is very much like Logan. I hadn't thought about that until you said that. I love the Joker 2 trailer.
All right, so what do you guys
lost
think?
Me there.
I will say I put a whole rant out on Friday about it. I'll get into that in a second, but let's start with Don. What did you think of the trailer of the new Joker movie?
You know, I was not. I did enjoy the first Joker for what it was, the one with Joaquin Phoenix. for this one, I feel that Harley Quinn should be his doctor. I don't get the whole like, oh, Harley Quinn is another patient at this mental health facility. So, and I don't like musicals either. So there's a lot about this I just really don't like. There was parts of the first one that I appreciated, and what they were trying to say, but now it just seems like a little bit of a money grab. Which, don't get me wrong, end state capitalism, all that, we're here, yeah. So that's not surprising, but that the one fact that they're not at least going to have Harley Quinn be his psychiatrist and show us that he kind of like manipulates her into being crazy, that she's already crazy. I don't know, any good faith I would have with it was kind of lost with that. So I'm completely uninterested.
I totally agree with that. John, what did you think?
So there's different ways of being interested. There's being interested in, like, you see Deadpool sitting next to Wolverine and you're like, okay, I'm on board. This is cool. I want to see what happens. And then there's the kind of interested where you're on YouTube and you're watching crash videos. And, when I heard this was a musical, I'm like, I'm not really interested. And then I saw this, and I have some of the same concerns that Don does. Like, you're basically taking away a lot of Harley's agency and the interesting parts of her character. And then it's like, I don't know, between that, the title and everything, this just seems like some kind of like, I don't know, that power trip that one of these guys is going on to make this movie. And I don't know that it has much to do with the actual Joker character. This is more like something that should be released during the Sundance movie, whatever. And I don't know. I'm interested, but only in the fact that I'm waiting for the crash and then the fire. Sorry.
All right.
And I'm the DC guy saying this.
I know. All right, GD.
It's blue toilet water. It looks nice when you look down on it, but it's ultimately still something I'm going to piss and shit in and flush out.
Well done. Well done.
Thanks. I was plotting.
So,
no, it's not for me. The first teaser trailer intrigued me. I'm not interested in the idea of the Joker as a protagonist. It strays too far from the source material to be the Joker for me.
Right. It's not
right.
the Joker.
I don't like what it represents. I don't like sympathy. I don't like this version of sympathy for the devil. I think there's a story out there where the actual Joker utilizes, excuse me, my voice is going today, where the actual Joker utilizes this to kill more people. Pardon. I have no interest in this.
It's in my mind, it's like, could you imagine if they made a sequel to The King of Comedy or to Taxi Driver?
That's like, what this is.
No. Yes. Exactly.
Like, it wouldn't work, and this isn't going to work. I think my other issue with it is they've spent so much time in the comics, and then with the Harley Quinn animated series, and with the Harley Quinn movie, even though it wasn't the best movie in the world, of establishing this idea of her breaking free of this toxic relationship. And now we're going to get a movie that's going to celebrate that relationship again.
That's the thing, is the people that like the Joker movie aren't comic book fans. I've never heard an actual comic fan go, man, I just love the Joker. It's a movie for, like, incels.
Told you I don't like that term.
I mean, it is. That's who that appeals to. People who use Joker memes and quote, like, the guy from the... It's just... I don't know. It's, like, completely missing the point.
Exactly. And the Joker works best, and this is what I said in the rant, is when he's a foil to Batman. He's a force of nature that comes in and creates chaos that Batman has to deal with. And not having that, and just having him be a force of nature that creates chaos, it's like, why? Why are we watching this?
Going back to what JD said, having the Joker as a protagonist, there's a reason why in the universe where the Crime Syndicate is from, they didn't have the Joker, they had the Jester. Because but they had Lex Luthor as a protagonist, but they couldn't do the Joker as a protagonist. They just had the Jester because You can't do the Joker. The Joker is just not a protagonist at all.
Nor should he be.
I think. I mean, we're getting a sequel because the first one made $1 billion, right? And that's it. But I don't think this one is going to do as well. Let's see.
And he won an Oscar.
Kassan says
Oscar-winning movie.
It was an Oscar-winning movie. Dave says, you're assuming this version of Harley will be involved in a toxic relationship. What if it's not? What if it's more equal, joining in a shared delusion? I think you're right, Kassan. I think that's what they're going for, and I think Dave's argument is by doing that, you take away the agency and the character fabric that is Harley Quinn.
That is Harley Quinn, exactly.
And I think that's all four of our qualm with this is it's Joker in name only, and it becomes Harley in name only. Now, what I can say is we have the real Harley, like a realer version of Harley, in what Margot Robbie has done and what's in the cartoon, and we have that representation. But Todd Phillips thinks he's really freaking cool, so he gets to make this alternate version, and a bunch of people that are incels are going to tell him how fucking genius he is. And
the thing is,
he's an artiste.
Well, he gets to cosplay Martin Scorsese again, and whatever. It's not for me, and I don't.
Oh my god, I love that.
No, it feels like the last one. It's not fair because I didn't see the whole movie. The parts I saw in the real trailers that told me King of Comedy, this is Taxi Driver, Todd pretending to be Martin Scorsese, which is fine if the Nolan Michael Mann impression in Dark Knight. That's what that was. And it landed. It landed for me. That one did not. I don't like the movie. I don't like the concept. I'm not on board with any of it. So if you ask me my opinion of it, you're not going to get a good one because it's not for me. But I can sit there and say, if the Joker movie means something to you, then I will say it's not the Joker, but it's like you said, an alternate version of the character.
Yeah.
It's just not one that I'm interested in giving my time to.
Yeah.
And I also feel this dilutes the Joker. I've said that before.
Agree.
When you give him an origin and try to make him sympathetic, it dilutes the character.
It's not, and like you said, it's not the Joker though. So I mean,
yeah.
I'd rather they call him. I mean, but if you call him something other than Joker, then you're not going to make as much money because it's not the Joker.
Right, and that's the whole thing. It's Todd Phillips cosplaying as Martin Scorsese and using the Joker to sell tickets. Yeah,
but the deal too is we have a Joker, a real Joker now in the Barry Keoghan. He's got that Irish name. I can't pronounce it. The guy who played the Joker in the Matt Reeves Batman, who seemed pretty awesome. Like they seemed like they went full Lee Bormejo with that. I was on board with what we've seen. I bet we see him again in the sequel, so that's fine. Joker,
they said that, he's going to be in the sequel.
I wasn't sure about that, but I mean, so we're going to get a Joker that's a little bit more comic accurate for us, and other people get one that's better for them. It's just not for me.
I mean, even James Gunn has come out and said it's its own separate universe. And I think he came out and said that because, again, it made $1 billion. He can't deny them making a sequel. So he's got to let them make it, but he's got to be like...
He could deny making a sequel because...
they were already making it when he got put in charge. So it's it's not really in his domain, but he's got to kind of answer for it because he's in charge. And very, very clearly, I don't think this is kind of what he does, but being a filmmaker, I'm sure he's down with it because it works for what it is. So it's not for us.
All right, so moving on. Kassan has another point. All right.
Kassan says another point. The protagonist failed. Joker versus Batman isn't the loss of the protagonist. Isn't lost. The protagonist is the city. Gotham has to fight its own soul to overcome the message. It doesn't work without a Batman. That's my argument.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't. Not at all.
For me or for this show.
Yeah, the city in the first movie wasn't portrayed in a manner that would give it its own force of personality.
We don't even have a Gordon in it.
Yeah,
because it's not for us. They're not making the movie for us. I don't even want to give the time because it's not for us.
All right, let's move on.
I mean, I'll still go see it, but I watch car crash videos on YouTube. So.
Well, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, you're talking about all this depressing shit, John. Why the fuck are you watching car crash?
Unfortunately, if there's nothing else to talk about that week, we might have
because I revel in the fact that other humans are more miserable than I am.
All right.
I'm generally concerned for you.
That's fucking dark. Have you seen Cronenberg's Crash? Have you seen?
Oh my god!
I'm dead serious at this point. Have you seen David Cronenberg's Crash?
No.
No.
We're gonna leave it at that. That's your homework assignment for this week. I want you to watch David
Cronenberg is the one that
Cronenberg's
does all those
Crash.
weird monsters and stuff, right?
No, body horror.
Body
stuff.
horror.
That's what Cronenberging is. You know.
Yeah, well, this is like a more grounded story with that guy at the helm. Why don't you go ahead and watch Crash from David Cronenberg?
All right.
And then get back
So
to
the last time Don was on the show, when he was filling in for one of you guys, and we had Randy on, we talked about what's her face that plays the new Black Widow. Pugh. What's her first name? I can't think of her first name.
Florence
Pugh.
Yeah. She
Florence.
released a video on social media where she was going around like the set of the Thunderbolts, and one of the things is on the back of the chairs it said Thunderbolts with an asterisk, and like the internet went nuts because they're like, oh look, they changed the title. And we were like, maybe that didn't mean anything, right? It was just dumb. Well, it's CinemaCon this weekend, where a couple of our next articles come from. They basically said, Kevin Feige came out, had Thunderbolts with an asterisk up on the thing talking about the movie, and was like, yeah, the asterisk is part of the title now, but we won't talk about that till after the movie comes out.
Huh.
So, I'm kind of curious. Like, I have no idea. Like, an asterisk usually means there's a footnote, right? So, do you guys have any theories on what it could mean for the title?
No.
No? Okay.
None whatsoever. Not
All
even a
right.
guess.
Don, come on.
I mean, the only thing is, I think they're going to change the name eventually to like, oh yeah, B-level heroes that no one gives a shit about, or B-level villains that no one gives a shit about.
Well,
I mean, I'm offended by this movie. Okay,
there's a theory that they're going to actually change the title at the last minute to Dark Avengers, but
those motherfuckers, if they do that, I swear to God, I will release a video of me doing violence on an inanimate object. But they better fucking not do that.
That'll show them.
I know. That's a ridiculous premise. I agree.
Let's be honest. We should be happy they aren't just calling it Dark Avengers right now.
I mean,
there's way more money. There's way more money in that title than there is in Thunderbolts.
So it's probably, like Kasan says, it's probably a Secret Avengers project. They realize no one cares about Thunderbolts. Exactly.
And here's the thing. This isn't the Thunderbolts.
It's not. It's not the Thunderbolts.
This is the closest thing this is like the Warren Ellis version of the Thunderbolts, which is just a ripoff of Suicide Squad. The Kurt Busiek Thunderbolts is villains pretending to be heroes.
But that
was the reveal.
That's also the Dark Avengers.
Right.
No, the Dark Avengers was straight up Bendis writing Warren Ellis's Thunderbolts. That's what it was.
Okay,
Brian Bendis said, I want to write these characters. I want to do what Warren was doing.
Right,
And
but
he
it's
right out of
it's
that.
the government saying, okay, we're going to replace the Avengers, and we're going to use villains that we have in our captivity to be the heroes, to replace the heroes you already know.
Yeah, that was
And
Warren
that was
Ellis.
the
That was
okay, exactly.
It was Warren Ellis's Thunderbolts first.
But that's my whole point: is Dark Avengers sells more than than
that's what I'm saying. We should be happy they're not calling it Dark Avengers right now, because it would make far more Disney sense than calling it the Thunderbolts.
Well, this goes back to the fact that they're rejiggering everything because Iger is now in charge, and he's giving back control to Feige of exactly what they can put out. So it's very possible that they said, well, we can kill Thunderbolts, but we can make it this, and they're going to put out something that Feige actually wants to do instead of something that he was told to do.
We don't know what that is. I mean, like, those movies don't get made unless Feige wants to do them. I'm sure Feige wants to do this. My only thing is this isn't the core concept of the Thunderbolts. But whatever.
No, it's not.
Right, which is
it's Suicide Squad. Call it what it is.
Which the other thing that came out from CinemaCon is closer to the core. Well, not closer, but it has an element of the Thunderbolts. Is they had we got our first look at Captain America: Brave New Worlds. So we got to see Harrison Ford as the president, as Thunderbolt Ross, in those images.
There's something we had never seen before: Harrison Ford as the president.
Get off my plane.
Yep, get off my plane.
Well, it's funny because everything
great movie.
Every podcast that I watch on YouTube that isn't ours, who was at CinemaCon and got to see the footage, were like, "Yeah, Harrison Ford isn't just phoning it in; he's like really in this movie." Which I thought was great here. And
are we taking bets on how long it takes for them to kill him off? Because we are talking about Harrison Ford. He does like dying in movies. I doubt he wants to do another one.
I mean, the thing is,
I don't think he's dying.
The theory is he's going to be Red Hulk, and like it's funny because,
well,
they showed some footage. This is non-spoiler, but basically Captain America, Sam gets called to the White House. He goes and meets with President Ross, and he makes a joke because Harrison Ford doesn't have a mustache, so he's like, "Oh, I'm just getting used to the new face, right?" Obviously, and they make a comment about the mustache,
Why? William Hurt's
but it's
dead.
a joke because it's a different actor, which I appreciate them throwing that kind of a joke in. But everyone who's watched the scene said there's definitely tension between the president and Sam in this.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, first of all, I want to be in the pitch meeting when someone told Harrison Ford he was going to be a Red Hulk. I can just hear Harrison Ford going, "What the fuck is a Red Hulk?"
You're like, okay, get it. Right. It's just like the Hulk, but he's red.
I'm going to be Harrison Ford.
And get this. So the Hulk gets stronger as he gets angrier. You, my friend, you will get hotter as you get angry. How about that?
That's not possible. He's Harrison Ford.
How much am I getting paid?
Exactly.
Don, you just boiled it down to how dumb the Red Hulk is.
Oh, the Red Hulk is fucking stupid. No one's ever going to argue that whatsoever.
Which I'm glad that he got his ass beat by Colossus / Juggernaut when Colossus had Juggernaut powers. Whole thing. Look it up. But I love that.
God, Jeff Loeb sucks at Marvel.
The thing that bugs me the most about the Red Hulk is it's a foil with the same powers, but it's Thunderbolt Ross because spoilers, because he's the guy who's always been hunting him. But they always had a foil to him. Abomination was always the counter to Hulk. So why on earth do you
Doc
need
Samson
another one?
Too.
And the Thinker, was it the Thinker or whatever?
Hulk's got a lot of foils. Hulk doesn't have an ultimate villain, right? There is no Magneto to the Hulk. Drew says maybe, but it's not Raw. Maybe
it's not Ross. No. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Ross.
If we get a Red Hulk, it's going to be Ross, and it's going to Harrison Ford will get paid to be a CGI model, and it'll be fine. The man's in his 80s. Let him get paid.
That's another question I have. With them replacing, I can't think of the actors.
William Hurt.
Hurt with Ford, but Ford is in his 80s. He's not.
They're going to kill him. They're going to kill him off in this one.
Maybe.
It's Harrison Ford. He won't take a paycheck unless he's going to die.
You say that. What movies has Harrison Ford died in other than the one Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
That's just that movie. He didn't die as Indiana Jones.
And the only reason he died off in that is it's why he agreed to come back because he didn't want to do it anymore.
He thought
I'll come back.
John is quickly Googling what movies is Harrison Ford in so we can land his joke because it doesn't work. I can hear it. Click, 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 click.
He's got the clickiest keyboard on earth.
Harrison Ford is not known for playing characters who die. He's known for playing leading men.
Yeah.
Blade Runner, Star Wars,
Mosquito
Coast.
Playing for the 7th time. This is Mosquito Coast. Okay,
wait,
three movies?
Did he die in 2049 or whatever? I guess so.
I swear this is a meme.
Not in the original Blade Runner.
Right.
Blade Runner.
In the follow-up.
In the sequel that came out 30 years later.
Right, and the idea was to have what's his face replace
no
Harrison.
one cares about.
Yeah.
It got us done.
Exactly.
Comics
So come on, Don. Anyway, your theory does not hold water here.
No. Fail, sir. Fail.
Fine, but we'll see. I'm taking bets on whether he dies.
Eye on you.
I don't think he's gonna die. I don't know. I don't know where they're gonna go with this, right? Because you can't do multiple Red Hulk stories. I don't think you can get one.
There's no
I will say this though. Once the Red Hulk is out of the bag, at least in the comics, I never see human Thunderbolt Ross again. So they could just kind of introduce it, and then it's just Red Hulk CGI until the end of time.
You make you have Harrison Ford do the voice, and when he dies, you just have him AI'd. That's what they're doing with James Earl Jones.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right, and that's the thing that sucks.
Whatever. It's just what it is. Can I be honest with you? Can I be honest, guys? Yeah. I don't care about this movie.
Oh, not at fucking all, do I? Absolutely. X-Men. That's what I care about right now.
If they change it, would you care about it? Like if they changed it to like Dark Avengers or something.
If it was a different movie, I might care about it.
If they did it right,
honestly, why don't you care about it though? That's the question. Like
these characters mean
because
nothing.
they're all C-level, right? They're all C-level characters.
See, that bothers me because Sam is one of my favorite characters from the comics.
I like. Okay, here's my thing.
He's the one.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I mean, like, I like Falcon, right? I just don't. I don't want to say he's not Captain America because it makes it sound like I'm a crazy person, but just like, I like him as the Falcon. I think he has his own identity as Falcon.
Well, yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna go back to my old argument that in the comics when Bucky took over for Cap, in my mind, it made more sense for Sam at that point because Sam had been his partner and friend much longer in the comics than Bucky ever was. And then reverse it in the movies, Bucky made more sense to take over for Cap, but they skipped over that one.
One of my least favorite comic book tropes is legacy heroes, with a few exceptions. Like Wally West, I think worked great as a legacy hero. And that's kind of it. Like, I can't think of any legacy heroes specifically in Marvel.
X-23 is not
yeah,
bad.
she's better as X-23 than she is as Wolverine. Like, I hate that.
Agreed.
Like, it's confusing.
And what's
like,
his son's name with the three claws?
Daken.
Yeah.
But he's Daken. He's not.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't work as Wolverine.
Sorry, the wife just sent me a big text. So, like, it just doesn't. I want Captain America, and if I can't get Captain America, I don't know, man. It just, for me, like I said, the only one I think it works is Wally West. Like, I don't care for the idea of legacy heroes. It makes them feel disposable to me. Miles works, but Miles is a different character. Miles didn't it's just different. Miles is the exception to the rule that makes it work, and I don't know why it works with Miles.
I'll tell you why it
Storytelling.
works. It works for two reasons. One, they built Miles up as his own character before he took over the mantle, right? I felt like they did that in pretty good in the Ultimate storyline. And two,
first appearance of Miles Morales is Ultimate Spider-Man, is his version of Ultimate Spider-Man #1. I think. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But, like, I don't know.
And then, hold on. And then you still had Peter in the 616 universe.
Yeah, so he wasn't a replacement.
So he wasn't a replacement. You still had him around. So yeah, that's why he works.
You know, that's actually a good point. And I get that and I know Sam has been Captain America for a while now in the comics, but Steve always comes. But it's Steve. You know, it's hard to replace.
We're always right.
Yeah, Batman Beyond is kind of cool, but
Good
Batman
one,
Beyond is never. But Batman Beyond exists in its own thing,
and it also works because you still have Bruce in the chair. So he's.
Yeah.
But does it really work in a sense that, like, it was 2 seasons of a cartoon show and a handful of comics? Like, Bruce has never been replaced.
Right.
Drew says Captain America is a good candidate for a legacy hero. I'd have preferred Patriot become Captain America and have Avengers subtly coaching him as a symbol. Yeah, I don't know, man. If I want Captain America, I want Steve Rogers. I don't either. It's not. I just don't like legacy heroes. They're just not for me.
And that's the whole thing. Like, I don't disagree with that because, like, that makes more sense too because he had been around for a while in the comics and yet they totally skipped him over and used one of his friends to replace him. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I can't think of his name.
Talking John Walker? Is that who you're talking about?
No. A friend of the show we've interviewed before. I can't think of his name.
Dave. Oh, you are Dave.
He talks about hand-me-down powers, and that's what that is, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it's just, let's just put a new person in, but he's going to be the same as the person before him. We just give him a slightly different backstory. And yeah, I agree. It doesn't work a lot of times.
Well, because when it naturally evolves, it's much better than, okay, we got this new character. We want to give him the Captain America rub, or we want to give him the Wolverine rub or whatever, the Superman rub. I mean, the Batman rub, whatever. I think it's kind of a cheap way to introduce new characters, and I'm not a fan of it either, unless it feels completely genuine.
Let's imagine a world right now where, like, a lot of this crap doesn't exist, but, like, Batman gets killed in the comics, right? In your mind, Dick Grayson takes over, right?
I read that story, and the whole idea of the story is that Dick Grayson is better as Nightwing than he is as Batman, and it was fun for a minute. But like the whole idea behind that was Dick can't be Batman.
Yeah, but they gave him Damian Wayne as Robin, which was
good though. That
a
works.
darker version of Robin.
You flip the dynamic, and it was it was fun. And Morrison, more than anybody else, made it work because Morrison's a genius. But like, it's quo doesn't work. The only time is Wally, and even then, people fought tooth and nail to unmake Wally as the Flash.
Yep.
Right. Even though he's
Right.
better version. Barry sucks.
I think we buried this.
All right. Let then John's saying subtly move on.
No, I'm saying very outright. Let's move on. We've got more to do.
CinemaCon. The other big news that came out, they showed 8 minutes of footage of Deadpool Wolverine at CinemaCon, and I don't want to get too much into it. I don't know. Did you guys read the article that I sent? Basically,
hold on. Kassan says, "What about Green Lantern? Green Lantern, by definition, is not a person; it is a title. The Green Lanterns are cops.
And
so
Green Lantern has been. There's been how many Green Lanterns in the comics?
72. Well, officially there's 7,200 of them. There have been 8 Earthbound Lanterns. So when they replaced Hal, and that was a harsh term because they didn't just replace Hal with Kyle; they replaced the core, and there was a lot of pushback on it. And what happened? It eventually undid itself, and then you had a bunch of Green Lanterns. Like Green Lantern is like Sergeant, right? It's not like a person's name.
Right, and that's the whole thing too, right? Because at one point you had all of them running around with rings. At one point, it was like, "What is this?" You know.
Well, don't think you can't think of Green Lantern as a hero. Green Lantern is a title. It's a job title.
Right. No, and that's the only way it works, because if you think of him as a hero, they've diluted him so much at this point.
But that's always been the conceit of what it's the Green Lantern Corps.
Right.
Right. It's like there's so many Green Lanterns out there, so that's why it's anyone could be a lantern.
Which is why
so many Green Lanterns they had to do other colors. They got blue lanterns.
Okay, let's not get me started on this. I could talk about the color.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Yarfleas or Atrocitus? Okay.
But that's the whole thing too. When they said they were going to do it in the DCEU, it was going to be the Green Lantern Corps, not just Green Lantern.
Love Necron.
Oh, that was a fucking great story. It was such a good story. I used to love Jeff Johns.
Oh, wait.
Used to.
He's kind of.
We got our good friend Ray on.
Oh, hey Ray. Ray says Elseworld Bruce Wayne is Green Lantern. That was fun, actually. I like that. First night.
Yeah.
That was called.
My buddy.
What was the
Emerald Knight? I forget what it was called. Emerald Knight. That's what it was. Emerald Knight.
Emerald Allies? No, wait. That's Green Lantern and Green Arrow. Sorry.
Was that on the Blackest Night storyline?
No. Elseworlds.
Oh, okay. All right. So basically, the 9 minutes that they showed was the beginning of the movie, right? And it kind of reduces spoilers at that point.
Major spoilers.
But the two interesting things I've heard about this footage. Number one, I called it. The scenes that he sees on those monitors at the TVA are different than what they showed in the trailer. They're all Captain America centric in that scene, and because remember he like salutes and says something about Captain, and the other thing is that Paradox says to Wade, "We need you to help protect the sacred timeline." But those of us who watched Loki season 2 know that concept apparently shouldn't exist anymore. Of the sacred timeline, like we have a multiverse now that Loki is taken care of, so there is no more multiverse.
Shit.
But they did show in Loki season 2 that there are people in the TVA who still believe there should be a sacred timeline. So, yeah, like I think that speaks volumes of what this movie could possibly be. I know, JD, you're so over the multiverse.
Whatever. I just want to laugh.
All right, Don, what do you think about that idea?
I think it's a great idea. I think anything that they're going to do is going to be just absolutely hilarious and great. From what I understand, reading everything that I read, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are both guess, stewards of what this movie is actually going to be. Again, from what I understand, they blocked some ideas from Disney to change it, and I love that because that's what is making the Deadpool franchise in general really, to me, the best X-Men movies and my favorite comic book movies out there. And because it all comes down to Ryan Reynolds' passion and him just demanding that things be done the right way. And so that's ultimately what I think is going to happen with the movie, regardless of what else is out there. And I'm just so here for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. JD's distracting me with his
Oh,
playing with his lights.
Oh my! Not playing with it. He keeps going weird. I don't know if something. I don't know. Power gets
right,
weird here sometimes.
So I told my wife, I'm not playing with it. It just keeps going weird. I'm sorry.
Word.
John, you were a fan of Loki season 2. You watched the whole thing.
Oh, he gone.
He left us. What did you think of that concept of Paradox saying we want to protect the sacred timeline, and we watched Loki come in and save the day and say, no, we're going to have a multiverse. We're not going to have a sacred timeline anymore.
Well, I mean, both DC and Marvel have the concept of multiverses within multiverses.
True.
Right? So, technically, if you go up high enough a level, both Marvel and DC are both multiverses within another multiverse. So, it's possible they're going that route, or it's possible that it's just a rogue set of, TVA agents inside the TVA. Or, again, we don't know if this is set before or after Loki. Either way, oh, there you go.
Boy.
JD. That's JD, by the way, people who are watching. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, that's what happens when you take a bunch of when you take some hedge clippers and you put them against your main power line. I mean, I know he didn't want to do the main topic, but yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they fit this in with what happened in Loki, if they fit it in with Loki, or if this is something else. But I'll tell you, in the end, though, I'm sure it'll be that they'll fit it in somehow, because they have to because this is supposed to bring everything from Deadpool and Fox and all that into the main timeline.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the one theory I heard that I don't fully agree with, is they're trying to trick Deadpool into replacing Loki, so that they can go back to the sacred timeline. And
The idea of trying to trick Deadpool, the idea of them trying to use Deadpool for anything, means they'd have no idea who Deadpool is.
Well, and that's the whole
Deadpool
thing
is like if you take the dice, you roll them, and then you use dynamite on them. There's no controlling him. Period. End of story.
But the idea is that Loki is a Nexus being, not Loki, I'm sorry, Deadpool is a Nexus being because he breaks the third wall, fourth wall, he talks to the audience, he knows what's going on. So that makes him a Nexus being.
Right, but
That's why
Deadpool-
they want to use him to replace Loki, not in the sense of replace him to control the multiple universes, use him to bring it back to one timeline. And then the theory goes on is that he's not actually trying to destroy the X-Men Fox universe, he's trying to save it.
Okay.
And that's why he's in the void in those other scenes we've
Yeah,
seen.
did I say Loki for? I mean Deadpool. Deadpool is uncontrollable. Deadpool is completely uncontrollable. So if they're bringing him in, they have no idea what they've done. That is the stupidest idea.
Kassan says, if this opens a storyline where you have factions fighting between a single timeline or a multiverse, I think they have a Phase 6. Yeah, I mean,
who knows?
Secret
Maybe
Wars.
that's the point.
Avengers Secret Wars. Yeah.
Exactly. I honestly feel like Deadpool is Wolverine is going to be our first step towards the Secret Wars movie.
Deadpool is replacing,
Might be the
and I
only
can't
step.
remember. He just seems to be replacing a character from the Bendis Secret War, or no, Hickman's Secret Wars, and I'm dropping in my mind, synapse not firing on it. But Deadpool definitely seems to be a linchpin here going into Secret War.
Yeah.
Also want to address a comment where someone said was DC canon in Deadpool. the DC universe is canon in Marvel Comics in general. It was
Yeah.
in they actually showed them in a Thor comic. It was either Thor or Avengers.
Well, they've done crossovers quite a few times.
Yeah, I mean
Sure.
it's canon that in both universes, it's canon that
They exist.
in both multiverses, it's canon that both multiverses sit next to each other in a greater multiverse if you go up enough levels of multiverse.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. And
that's the reason. That's the reason why Godzilla and King Kong are right now in the one of the DC universes.
Right. Yeah. So,
DC hell, I'm going to be reading a comic that I got here pretty soon where it's Godzilla versus Power Rangers. I can't wait because I can't wait for it's got the Green Ranger in it, so I can't wait for Dragon Zord versus Godzilla.
Death Battle already did that, and it doesn't turn out well for the Power Rangers. But
Ray says if they put Enter the Spider-Verse into action, we get some Roger Rabbit type of deal.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's getting crazy, and it's funny because we skipped Social Media Madness, but one of the comments that was in there was, "I'm tired of the multiverse," and a lot of people are already tired of it. But I think the reason they're tired of it is because they haven't handled it the best.
Right. Well,
No, it interrupts
yeah.
stories, right? It's the same thing with like comic crossovers. Like I'm reading this X-Men series, whatever. It's going great. I like it. Boom, crossover. Okay, done with that story or interrupt that story, and here we are. So with the multiverse being around, like it really does unsettle you as far as like, oh, can I settle into this world? I don't think I can yet, and that's my big problem.
Yeah, but it was what, Bob Chapek before Iger came back, right? And
well, Chapek was a penny pincher,
right? And he's one of the reasons why because people are tired of the multiverse because Chapek said, well, we have to flood. This is making us so much money. Let's do more of that, like all those idiot executives. And of course, your one nexus of control over this, Feige, couldn't handle all of that, and so a lot of it, we lost our way and bad shit, and so people don't want to watch anything more once it goes bad. Right. So, but this is Ryan Reynolds. You can't go wrong with him. You just can't.
Thrawn says, "I may be late, but I saw 2 X-Men characters passed away in X-Men '97." Yes, Thrawn, we had a long discussion about that at the beginning of the show. Just go back and watch the broadcast when we're done. Rewatch it. It gets within 10 minutes. We're talking about it, and
and also spoilers. Yeah,
yeah. There's a lot of spoilers in it, but obviously you watch it, Thrawn. So, all right. What's Drew saying here? I'm fine with the multiverse to give some anthology to Marvel.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I still want stories with stakes. I still want continuity, though,
Right, exactly. Sanja said multiverse destroys stakes. Oh, the X-Men died. Guess they'll crossover in another universe.
Well,
no.
that's not the way they're
X-Men
working.
You have X-Men that dig themselves out of hell. So, I mean, you don't need a multiverse to revive X-Men.
Yeah, and that's not the way they're going to handle it with this. I mean, there's still stakes. I mean, look at when they brought Gamora back as from somebody from another multiverse. She was, she's not Gamora. Your stakes are you lost the Gamora that you came to love after 2 movies and a couple of other showings, and you got this other Gamora, and Peter lost everything that he loved. So, There are stakes, even with a multiverse.
All right. So first off, Ray said, "I don't care about cinematic universes and Endgame. I just want to be entertained again." Yes. I don't disagree. Yes,
Fair
exactly. I think Deadpool Wolverine is going to be entertaining. But I also want to say, I predicted this. I'm sorry. When we talked Endgame on this show, I said, "Oh my God, they introduced time travel to the MCU. Nothing is going to be the same going forward. It's just going to screw everything up." And
as long as it's limited, it's okay.
That's what you said. That's exactly what you said at the time.
Limited.
And man, they have screwed things up big time in the MCU since they introduced time travel and the multiverse. So
that's what happens when you introduce time travel into anything. You
Yeah.
know, as long as you handle it well and you say, "Hey, things got screwed up,"
and
that's fine.
this was also pointed out, but since we're talking Deadpool Wolverine, time travel in Deadpool was handled much differently than in the X-Men movies than it was in the MCU. In the MCU was you can't change the past to affect the future, but in the Days of Future Past and in Deadpool, no, you can change the past and it affects the future. So I don't know how they're going to reconcile that once they bring Deadpool in. So
different universes,
Yeah.
different rules.
How
Or
much-
maybe it's just a difference in how that time manipulator works that Cable had.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
Thrawn
don't
just-
understand. Yeah, this whole fucking popcorn buckets going on.
Ron just wants to
yeah.
know how much of those Deadpool popcorn buckets is going to be secondhand. You just recently bought one, right, John? The Ghostbusters one.
I bought the Ghostbusters one, yeah. Like I spent an extra $30 on it to get it even without the popcorn because I don't like popcorn.
I saw the Dune 2 one, and I'm like, it kind of looks like a weird anus.
Yeah, there's very
Like,
few that I actually want. I got the soda holder for Ghostbusters and the popcorn bucket, and well worth it. But I wouldn't normally do that.
I can't eat, like, that's my thing, and it really bothers me is because at the Regal, anyway, when they have the buckets, they're always the large ones, and I can't, if I'm by myself especially, I can't eat that much popcorn. So it's
No
like,
human can.
I don't feel like spending that kind of money, but yet part of me wants the bucket. I guess you just told me you can buy it without the popcorn.
Yeah, that's what I asked. You can.
So.
Anyway.
Same comment. All right. And then the other thing was that I wanted to bring up about Deadpool is Feige said this because we were all like, is it going to be R or not? He said it's definitely going to be an R-rated movie, which is interesting. It's a Disney Marvel movie, and it's going to be the first R-rated one.
Yeah, but didn't they make that whole? Didn't they change their app, their Disney Plus app?
Yes,
to
so
have a way to
More
turn off
adult
R ratings
content
because
control,
they brought in because they bought Fox. So they knew Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, right? So they made changes just for this moment.
So, all right. And the last piece of news, and I'm really bummed that JD lost power because he would have a lot to say on this. RDJ in an interview recently came out and said he would love to come back and play Iron Man again if given the opportunity. He says that it's part of his DNA. He loves, he owes a lot to the character, to his career. He loves playing him. What did he say? The role called to him because it felt like a role made for him.
It was
all this
made
kind
for
of
him. It was
right.
it
All
was-
this kind of stuff, and yet recently, before that, he said he felt it would be cheap if he came back. Right, like Tony's died in Endgame, and it would cheapen it if he put the jersey back on. It was his exact. He was on like whether you like Joe Rogan or not, John. He did say in an interview with Joe Rogan, he said like he feels it would be like Joe Rogan was saying, "Oh, you should come back and do it one more time," and he's like, "Wouldn't it cheapen it if I put the jersey back on?" That was his quote. So, like, I'm kind of curious what people think because like I think a lot of people would love him to come back, but would it cheapen his death in Endgame? So, what do you think?
Well, it depends on how they handle it, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny what inflation will do to you, huh? First, we're good to go, and now we're not worried about cheaping anymore.
And
So
honest,
my financial advisor is
honest
saying I need
answer.
an extra $1 million here.
Now let's be honest, RDJ's got more money than we'll ever dream to have. But
True that.
Well, I mean, let's think about it though. Has he? I mean, are we actually talking about Robert Downey Jr. unless we're talking about Iron Man anymore? I mean, seriously, he's not, where he was. It's the most popular role, and so absolutely, it makes total sense. But yeah, time heals all, and obviously that's correct for when it comes to not wanting to cheapen character deaths. So that's eroded at this point. For War.
But again, they could handle it properly. They can handle it in a good way.
Yeah, it's
that doesn't
comics.
cheapen
You
it
can always.
I mean, let's be honest here, right? They did Tony as an AI in the Riri Williams comics, right? Like he was dead, and it was an AI Tony that was guiding, which I thought where they were going to go with Tony in the movies, but he was going to be guiding Peter, but they didn't do that. So, I saw the first 10 minutes at WonderCon, and folks back then had an instant reaction to RDJ. First 10 minutes of what, Thrawn? Are you talking about the first 10 minutes of Iron Man, or are you talking about the first 10 minutes of Ultimate Universe Tony? Fuck it. Okay, Ray. Yeah, I mean though the Ultimate Tony, isn't he? He's like a jerk, isn't he? The Ultimate Tony.
Is that Arno Stark? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really that much.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
Well, I think another factor to this though is I don't think he really can return though, because these movies are not making and are not going to make as much as they used to. So can we afford Robert Downey Jr. anymore?
But is that possible because they've pared down the number? They've canceled a whole bunch of movies. So, if they reverse what they've done with the fatigue, it's possible they can get back up there.
That's one of the arguments that JD normally has.
No fatigue.
JD, if you're watching this, you're an asshole that you lost power. One of the arguments
it's his fault.
He always makes is that we're losing the stars. We're losing the A-list heroes or the B-list heroes, let's be honest. But we're losing the A-list that we've now established as the A-list heroes and the A-list actors portraying them, right? And they're trying to push C-listers on us, and no one wants them. So the argument is, if they brought Tony back, that might revive one of the movies. So,
I mean, it might. It's definitely going to get popped, but I guess I would disagree with what you're representing. JD's thoughts there is that it's not that we're attached to the actor. I mean, okay, yes, we are attached to the actors.
We're attached to the character.
Right. We're attached. We want Iron Man. We want Thor. We want Captain America. We want Hulk and the Avengers. We're going to want... Doesn't matter who plays them, as long as they do a good job.
And Black Widow, damn it. Why did everybody leave her out? God damn.
Ray says...
Because she's Black Widow, dude. Nobody cares. All right.
Well, they cut all the costly stars out of the MCU so they can afford it, which... it is a valid argument. Like they have said RDJ got too expensive to even have him in like the Spider-Man movies doing a cameo. He wanted like whatever it was, $10 million. So it's like, yeah. Deadpool will make over $1 billion.
Well, and I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I agree that it's been cured by the X-Men. Like they can clearly see, make great stories about the characters we want. Boom, we're there.
Yeah, Thrawn's got a good point here. They're scared to hand some of these mantles to the next generation of actors. It's
and
true,
that'll hurt
right?
their longevity.
Yeah.
Because in the comics they don't age. Okay, time and age in comics is super slow.
Yeah, Ray, you're right. I'm sure the girl that played Echo isn't making RDJ money, but no one cares about Echo. Nothing against the actress, but no one cares about that character.
Right.
Especially with the changes they made.
And I'm going to say,
be honest,
I've said this a couple times. I'm going to keep saying it. We're finally getting the FF and the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four and the X-Men in the MCU. Like, I don't know if people are tired of the X-Men at this point, but like, they are their A-listers. Spider-Man and the X-Men have always been the Marvel A-listers. So to sit there and say it's dead as the X-Men are coming in is I think, short-sighted at this point. Thrawn says, if an actor's name remotely has a draw, that's still their business model for some reason. Yeah, it's always going to be. Keep RGA sideline and give me a MODOK season 2. Okay, Ray, I don't think anyone is asking for a MODOK
now
season
you've
2
got
other than you.
You just lost
You know
us.
what? That show was amusing, particularly because they had a lot of X-Men villain cameos. But yeah, I'm good with season 2.
Okay, wait. Kassan, the studios need to pull a Lord of the Rings and shoot 3 movies at the same time. cast in one shot and keep the cost down, and aging will become a non-issue. There's been how many movies in the MCU at this point? Like, it's not an issue. So, all right. Well, that's it for the news. Let's take a quick break, and we'll get into our depressing comic after this. We'll be right back.
This is so wizarding.
Broadcasting very fast and very dangerous from the planet Malistair. You are listening to So Wizard.
You're thinking people gonna die?
The only podcast to make the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs.
No one to stop us this time.
I am your host, Joey DiCarlo, and with me, my co-hosts, the queen of all nerds, Aubrey Litchfield, and the expert, Mr. Marquis, Marcellus Ray. You are listening to So Wizard Podcast, where three friends review movies, TV, and sometimes more, podcasting weekly on the Geek World All-Stars Podcast Network. Marcellus Reagans, please tell the listeners where they can find more So Wizard Podcast.
Everybody, you can head on over to SoWizardPodcast.com, and there you're going to find a brand new episode every week. Find So Wizard on all podcasting streaming platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, GoodPods, and pretty much wherever you can find a podcast. Check out our YouTube page, where new content is being uploaded regularly. We also have a Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can receive exclusive bonus content while you're supporting the show.
No, I didn't. First of all, a podcast takes a lot of work, okay? You have to organize the guests, you have to do a Google Calendar, and then you build a following. It takes a long time, and I've been working on it for a while.
All right. Let's see real quick. 8 Ray's mad at us. He said MODOK was gold, you dicks. Hey, you know what, Ray? We love you too. But it was comedy. It wasn't like a serious thing, and it wasn't part of the MCU. Okay, I was listening to the summary of Earth X. I'd love to see it turned into an animation. We'll get that into a second. All right, so yeah, that is our main topic this week. We probably won't spend a lot of time on this. I curse you, JD, for dropping out, for losing power, you bastard. Earth X is a series that came out in 1999. Art by Alex Ross, written by Alex Ross and Jim Kruger.
It was an interesting story.
John Paul Leon did the internal art, and it's a 18-part series. There's actually 3 series altogether. There's X Universe and what's the one after X Universe? I'm sorry, Universe X and then Paradise X. That's it. So it's actually 3 series, but you really only need to read Earth X, in my opinion.
It's 377 pages on Kindle.
So yeah, I will say that if you've got the Kindle Unlimited, like I do, you can download it for free. Otherwise, it's pretty pricey for the books. Right now.
$17. I don't have Kindle Unlimited because I like to directly, as much as I can, pay authors because we've talked to so many that and I doubt Kindle Unlimited really pays them very well. But $17 for the Kindle version, and then I don't think I saw an actual soft cover, and the hardcover is $200.
$200, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
All right, and then it's funny because when I put the link up for the show, Don, you said you love this story, which shocked me because I feel like they kind of do the X-Men dirty in this book.
A little bit.
A lot of it. I mean, come on, that's an overarching theme in this book. So I was kind of shocked that you said it, and that's why I wanted you to come on. I was familiar with it. Like, I'd seen the artwork, Captain America wrapped in a flag and with an A sketched into his head as opposed to wearing his costume, and like that's an
Flag
iconic
toga.
image. Yeah, wearing a toga as they refer to it in the comic. That's an iconic image everyone's seen. We basically get a dark version of Spider-Girl in this story before Spider-Girl was even really a thing. And it's interesting too because the time this comes out, 1999, it's pre-Winter Soldier, which is a very important aspect of the story, and it's a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. So,
You're the one who suggested it, man.
Right, and the funny thing is because they're using what's her face version of Silver Surfer they're using the version of Silver Surfer from this story in the Fantastic Four, and that's why I suggest that we read this. I'd never read it before. I assume, Don, you had read it before. So let's real quick try to be a little non-spoiler. What were your initial thoughts after reading it? Don, since you're a fan of it, you can go first.
By the way, it was Shalla-Bal, the female.
Shalla-Bal, thank you.
This was almost a reintroduction for me into comics. I had stopped reading comics and X-Men in the mid-90s, basically when Colossus became a bad guy and most of the X-Men were absorbed by the Phalanx. I just kind of left. I wasn't into it anymore. I was also getting, more into girls, at the time. And so between video games, girls, and football practice, there just wasn't much comic time. But after high school, I had a very dear friend who is now unfortunately dearly departed from us suggest this to me. Obviously he knew I was into comics, and he said, hey, you should read this Earth X. Alex Ross does the artistry, so we're going to stop right there, ladies and gentlemen, because it's Alex Ross.
Yeah.
So that's already going to put it right up top of anything. I absolutely fucking love Alex Ross's art. So reading this with that context of, okay, I haven't been connected with reading anything with Marvel, so I didn't really have to worry about any sort of continuity. I could just accept it for what it was. And there is a lot of strange stuff to it. I mean, the Hulk in this story is, so Bruce Banner and Hulk are separate.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner rides the Hulk, who is a big green ape that wears a diaper.
That's weird. Yeah. In itself.
As we've stated, the Spider Person is actually, it's May Parker, and she's basically like a symbiote spider. Spider-Man is in this, but he's like a lizard. Spider-Man in this universe is like a lizard, basically. And again, yeah, old Captain America wearing a USA flag toga. Wolverine and Jean Grey being together. Wolverine basically looks like Danny DeVito.
Oh my
he's
God.
all fat and old, and he's a bad husband to Jean Grey.
You gotta remember,
that's the best line in the book. Oh, my healing factor doesn't let me get fat.
Right.
You gotta remember that this takes place far in the future, and everything's messed up because everybody has powers now. So
I will say that, yeah,
some of these are
it's
really
an alternate. It's an alternate future version of the MCU. None of these ideas has ever come to pass in the MCU. Thank God.
And everything's screwed up because of what's going on.
Female Thor, a little bit there. But
yes,
I remember referencing this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Well, I just remember when Jane Foster first became Thor in the comics, and that just all the people bitching about that, like, what, female Thor, what? And I remember saying it worked in Earth X. It worked in Earth X.
But hey, let's 1999, the world was a little bit of a different place at that point too. That was done to humiliate Thor. Yes. Odin made him a woman to humiliate him. Like, that's the storyline in the book.
Ass. But he's
right, but I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Like, it's kind of a sexist move on Odin's part.
Yes. Well, yeah. Odin is.
It's Odin. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's another thing, right?
Doesn't he ride his nephew? Isn't like the horse he rides like Loki's offspring or some shit like that? Like, yeah.
But let's be honest too, right? Like, this is the first time they really bring in the concept that the Asgardians are aliens, which the MCU adopted big time. So,
This was it. This was the first time they were.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because they were just the Norse gods in before this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
And just so I can sum up why I do like this without being spoilery though. I know you say the X-Men are done dirty, and I agree with that. But my favorite X-Men is Colossus. Okay.
Okay.
So for me to read this and be like, oh, Colossus is the Tsar of Russia and basically feeding the world, and now Captain America is going to Colossus. Like for me, Colossus, I've always acknowledged is like a BC level character. Now not so much anymore. He's evolved into people, revere him as a classic X-Men. Loki tricked Odin into making him a woman.
Yes. Odin is the one who actually did it.
So, and I think Alex Ross draws Colossus better than anyone ever in existence. So
Yeah.
that's why I did enjoy Earth X and Universe X.
All right. John?
Well, obviously I've missed a little bit of some of the significance of the, some of the changes in here or the reveals apparently. Overall, it was kind of a depressing, again, because of the way my life has gone, I try to look for things that keep my spirits up. And, I get a little upset sometimes when, you look, when somebody writes a story, which is, oh, in the future, well, as well as everything went, everything sucks now. Alien and Aliens, and you had Ripley and Newt and all that, and then Aliens 3. Sorry, Newt and everybody else died, and Alien and Ripley has a monster baby. It's like, well, what's the point of struggle? Like, there has to be some reward for the struggle, something, and this shows that literally everybody is demoralized and just I don't know, given up, and it weighs really heavy on the soul.
But doesn't that go along?
Yes,
with the story.
Yes, no, you're right. You're right. In this case, in this framing of the story that's being told, it makes sense. And this isn't this isn't one of the prime Marvel universes.
Right.
Which you can tell if you know anything about Uatu. This is almost like an evil version of Uatu.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we lost John.
Go ahead.
We lost you for a second. That's all.
Oh,
yeah, you
sorry.
said you stopped at an evil version of Uatu.
Yeah, it is kind of a new evil version of Uatu. And then I froze like this because I'm thinking of my next line. It's just, I mean, again, like I said, it's the framing of the story. The story is incredibly well written. And no, Kassan, I played Fallout 4. So yeah, that was a depressing story. The only reason I got through that was I might have cheated a little on the resources, but otherwise, and of course, I in the end I burned the Brotherhood to the ground, the Brotherhood of Steel. So anyway, but the story is really interesting and really well written, and there's a lot of stuff in here that I didn't know were things in Marvel.
And maybe my take is going to be
it's going to be different because again, as you pointed out, I didn't know this is the first time that they mentioned that the Asgardians were actually, not
aliens,
gods but
right.
aliens. So I might have missed a few things, but I still think as an outsider that this is well written enough that people should read it.
I feel like
very well written.
See, and here's the thing: at
There's a lot of
1999,
philosophical things. Sorry,
1999. I'm not sure if who the editor in chief was at that point at Marvel, but I feel like somebody said, "Hey, a couple years ago, DC was really successful with this Kingdom Come storyline. Let's do our version of that.
Let's make something more depressing.
But that's the whole thing. I feel like they missed the point of Kingdom Come. Like,
well, yeah, but they have their own point they're making because this, like,
but there's still a hopeful message with Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman.
Yes.
In that story, by the time you get to the end, like, Wonder Woman's pregnant with Superman's child, right? So, like, there's hope for the future by the time that you get there. By the time you're done,
Really,
this
Batman's
story,
the godfather of the most powerful being to possibly ever exist. I didn't find that very. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad.
Yeah, but you notice they never do a Kingdom Come 2. They kind of like stopped.
Right, exactly.
They're
like,
but
okay,
they did
yep.
2 more series after this one.
Right on.
And I kind of feel like, let's be honest, it's 18 issues. It's very convoluted. There is a lot going on in this story. They do not simplify it at all. They don't say, let's zone in on one character and make them the focal point of this. You've got so much going on with Reed, with Scott, you got some stuff going on with Peter, but it's not as important until you get to the end of the book, end of the story. And every time we're going to introduce a new part, we're also going to go back and re-explain the history of this event through new eyes and things you didn't like think about before. And making the Watcher the villain was like the weirdest thing to me. By the end of this story, it was just like, wow, like it's okay.
It's not just the story, the depth of the philosophical pondering in this, like the ideas of there is no good, there is no evil.
Oh my God!
It is what it is. What it is. It's people, following their instincts to survive, and and the idea, like, again, we go back to that experiment they did with the prisoners, dividing up people into prisoners and guards. And what happens when people are given power, and now they're showing a world where everybody's been given power. And it's, I just, like the writing gets really deep. Like, there are some panels in this that aren't graphical. They're much more writing than you're used to in a comic. And the depth of the writing gets really, like, you have to wade through it. And like some of it is fun, interestingly enough, reflects some of the stuff I'm reading now in Being and Nothingness. Like, you're going to that depth of philosophical pondering, the pondering, the reflection of humanity upon itself.
They bring X-51 in to basically take the Watcher's place, because the Watcher's been blinded. He can't see the universe anymore.
Yeah.
And we'll like, not to get too deep into it yet. And so that's the whole idea with the story, is that he's the one they're bringing in. He's your, what do they call that in writing? The outsider, basically. So you can you can understand what's going on in the story. And he's the one that's at first is like, oh, well, that was a good thing, or that's a bad thing. And the Watcher keeps going, no, there is no good and evil. There's just what is. And it's like this whole argument between the two of them. But I kind of found I didn't care about that part of the story as much, and I don't know why.
No, because like, okay, because what is there to care about? Like, that shit is almost tangential, and I guess that's what I didn't like about it. Like, even with the fucking Inhumans, which this is the origin of my hate of the Inhumans.
I don't disagree with that. I don't at all.
Why is it nobody I talk to likes the Inhumans?
because they do shit like release Terrigen Mist and then wonder why the X-Men want to kick their ass. Like, you just released a fucking cloud that's going to kill it. Now, realize I'm not talking about Earth X. I'm talking about Inhumans versus X-Men. But they did it again. They fucking did it again, where they released this Terrigen Mist to the world. And they're just like, huh, what?
You know what? It's funny, because now that you're saying that, you're right. They took an idea from the story and then used it in the main MCU timeline, too. So there are parts of this that we can feel the effects of.
Yeah, but under all that, it's all about this punk motherfucking kid, which I hated. Okay, this are we in spoilers yet? I'm sorry. Did we announce?
Yeah,
that?
you know what?
let's go to
we're in
spoilers.
spoilers. Yeah.
So the major fucking thing that happens in this story is this kid, and they call him Skull. I can't remember exactly why they call him that, but he gets born, and once his powers manifest, where he can just control people, make them do whatever the fuck they want, all the psychics and telepaths die. Professor X, done. Emma Frost, done. And so he's like the most powerful little shit on the planet. Now I know everybody's got powers, but it doesn't fucking matter because this little asshole can control you. Go ahead, Dave.
But that brings up a really interesting thing that Reed does in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense, right? Like he can stretch himself, he can configure himself. He uses his power to change his brain to match Xavier's, so he can use Cerebro, which I thought was a cool idea. I will give that to the story.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
See, now it's funny because I found that this story is showing a conflict on literally two different levels.
Okay.
There's the level of what you normally, like the actual physical and mental conflict of the heroes and villains. And then there's the philosophical conflict of Uatu and X-51.
Yes.
And I found that to be really interesting because the battle on that front was, what is the point of caring? What is the point of life? What is the point of doing anything in your life if all of that, all of the worth that you give that in the long run means nothing to the universe?
Isn't it interesting that the person who cared more about that is the synthetic life form?
Yes. And that's what ultimately saved them. Well, saved people.
Well, I guess, but you just touched upon it. That's the whole theme. None of this shit matters, right? Captain America outsmarts Skull, and that was because again, I hated this little prick. And so to see, like, for all the power he had, Captain America was able to trick him, get close to him, and beat that bitch up the side of the head with the fucking shield. Oh, where's your powers now? Because you're knocked the fuck out. But none of that matters because Galactus comes because we all learn that all these planets are incubating Celestials.
Yeah.
Now Galactus, who you very universally think is a bad guy, he turns out to be like
the good guy.
Good guy. But again, none of that other shit matters because now we're dealing with Celestials and Galactus. Like,
was this the first question, Dave, before you go on? Was this the first time that they introduced the idea of the Celestials using planets as incubators?
No, it's not
to my knowledge. Okay, all right. I didn't.
No, I don't think
my first introduction to that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the first time they touched upon it. But it's the first time that they touched upon the idea that Galactus is eating the planets to kill the Celestials.
Okay.
It's also the first time that vibranium was a part of that as well. Like
was related to the Celestials.
Right, and that gets to the whole convoluted aspect of this story is that they tried again, who was the writer of the book?
Alex Ross and the other guy.
Jim.
What's funny,
Kruger.
while he's
Jim Kruger, and like the whole idea is that he was trying to take everything that every Marvel writer has ever done that's a big thing in the MCU and combine it into one giant story that tried to make sense, but in the end it falls flat in a lot of ways, in my opinion. Like, and that's why I say it does the X-Men dirty. Like, now everyone's a mutant, so, and they even talk about it directly in the book, right? Like, the whole was Magneto evil, right, comes up, and was Xavier good, or was it just a foil because was Xavier really fighting for human and mutant alliance, or was he just fighting against evil mutants? And was Magneto really evil and trying to take over the world, or was he just trying to fight for mutant supremacy?
But that's the framing that Uatu's putting on it, right? And
yes,
X-51 is the one who replies to that, stuff from the viewpoint of somebody with emotions, with with investment in what's going on and the result of those conflicts. So, like it's, I don't know, like your standard reader is going to come out of this confused. Like it's something really deep, something that you have to contemplate as you're reading it.
Right. Real quick, Thrawn asks, has anyone ever addressed that the Tiamat Island that it popped up in the Eternals in the MCU? No. And that's one of the biggest issues in the MCU is that they have not addressed that at all in any way.
There's just this huge hand and head that are popping out of the earth that are higher than the highest mountains. But we're not going to talk about that.
But what is interesting, though, and both confusing, like you said, to maybe a normal or first-time reader, Dave, is the fact that the Galactus in Earth X, like, they acknowledge that the original Galactus is dead through the Ultimate Nullifier, or was dealt with the Ultimate Nullifier.
I thought that was a weird choice, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, wait a minute.
So this Galactus... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It couldn't have been from the Ultimate Nullifier, because the Ultimate Nullifier basically breaks the entire universe. Well, it reverses the entire universe back to the beginning and then replays it without whatever you pointed the nullifier at in the universe. So if that were the case, there wasn't a Galactus ever. So, like, I don't know.
Or there wasn't a Galactus that came to Earth. Is another way.
There never was a Galactus, period. That's
right. Well, and that could be because this Galactus is Franklin Richards.
Right. Spoiler.
It's not
but
the
yeah,
Galactus. No. Yeah.
Which I thought was one of the weirdest choices too in this. Like, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Richard's kid and Galactus have been connected in a lot of different Marvel stories.
Yeah, well, they have, because in Universe X, I believe, Franklin Richards is riding on Galactus.
Yes. Wasn't he his herald at one point?
I don't know if he's herald, but with Franklin's reality powers, he now basically made Galactus his bitch.
Right.
Yeah. I think Galactus was Franklin's herald in some other storyline or something. Again, I'm not the Marvel guy.
All right, what is
all kooky dukes?
Son says this sounds like a project that invalidates a continuity. If aspects of some Marvel stories invalidates others, then Marvel should be wary of focusing on continuity on a celestial level. Yes. And that's the whole thing. Like, someone let's try to make the whole thing connect and make sense, and went down a dark path with it.
Yeah.
And it does. This story invalidates some of the continuity in a sense.
But it sounds like, when was this written? This was written in 2019? No,
1999. But John makes an excellent point, is that a lot of this is framed from the Watcher's viewpoint, who, in the end, spoiler, you find out he's really the villain. He was watching to make sure that the celestial planets did hatch, and he was working with the Celestials to make sure that happened. So that is why he's telling X-51 through the whole story, like, it doesn't matter what humanity does, because he wants the Celestial to hatch. Like, that's his mission.
Yeah,
so,
which it might be endemic to just this universe, this Earth X universe that we're watching, because it doesn't seem like that's a standard. A lot of the stuff in here seems to have influenced writing from then on, like the idea of the Celestials using planets and all that. But
you take the What If cartoon, and the Watcher is trying to put together a multiverse Avengers.
Yeah,
to save Earth, to save humanity. So yeah, it's a complete weird take on the Watcher, I think.
I agree.
And then what? Like, okay, X-Men expert. What did you think of the take of Scott in this? The old man Scott, who now has to lead the new X-Men in it.
Yeah, it was okay. That certainly wasn't my favorite part.
Okay.
I didn't think it was very Scott Summers-ish.
It wasn't.
Not at all. I definitely agree there. And I know this isn't perfect. I know it's convoluted and crazy. But as far as me like loving it, you know, even though it kind of does the X-Men dirty, you know, if everybody's a mutant, nobody's a mutant. If everybody got powers, nobody's got powers. But I just, yeah, again, just I got to think back to where I was at this time. This really was kind of my reintroduction into getting back into Marvel, and it was really like a coming of age to me because I was 15 when I had last read comics, and now here, my friend, I'm 20 years old, and it was just a little bit of a mental leap for me. And I so there's just a lot of nostalgia behind it for me, I guess. And again, I love the artwork.
It is. The artwork's really good.
So I was, you know, I didn't have any continuity in my brain that I was like, oh my God, you know, it didn't fritz me out. Like I took how it was. I liked it. I thought that was interesting, you know, really interesting concepts. You know, the fact that Hulk's running around in a diaper, but fucking Skull is Captain America, you know, tries to take Hulk into the fight against Skull, and then Hulk's like, "Oh, I'll just make Hulk kill all of your people while they stand there," and that makes Cap like it's just a lot of cool shit.
The whole part when they go into the realm of death with the Hulk, that was weird. But
which
get it.
Is now with the Immortal Hulk.
Yeah. Yep.
There's got a lot more shit in it that influences Marvel than I think people realize.
Yeah, I mean this I mean, like the Eternals movie has the Celestials coming down and trying to hatch one of their kind from the Earth. Like the apparently like this became a Bible for Marvel concepts.
Kassan says, I'm not deep into Marvel. Are the multiple versions of the Watcher, or is this unique? Yeah, this is very unique.
Yeah, there's multiple Watchers.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, there's multiple Watchers, but Uatu is a unique character.
Oh, right. Specific, right, yeah.
Because he sees the multiverse. So he's a Nexus being.
Supposedly, but like, is there an Watch? See, here's where I get confused.
Nick Fury's been the Watcher at some point. He might still be.
Yeah.
But is there one Uatu for the multiverse? Because if that's the case, then he's the same as this person technically, but he's not.
Because this is an alternate future story that, like, yeah.
Right. This goes back to the like this is in its own bunch of multiverses, and there's another bunch of multiverses where the Uatu we know who's helped out for reasons of his own and almost kicked out of the Watchers because of the interference that he's committed. But
I will say that
multiverse. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, that's canon.
The idea here is it was a poor choice making him the villain of this book.
Yeah.
Like, the Watcher should be an impartial viewer of the universe, and that's it. To make him like, oh, the reason he does it is because he works for the Celestials was like, it was a poor choice because it creates that concept that you just said, John. Like, oh, well, then there has to be multiple versions of the Watcher. Where throughout history, no, there was one version of the Watcher. He could see the multiverse, and that's why What If exists.
Okay, question. What exactly did Uatu in this story? What did he do to continue things on? With the exception of not telling, like the only other
what he did was, think about it. The only time, and that's the thing they're pointing at, the only time he got involved in human history was to give the nullifier to Reed Richards.
Oh yeah, but in
Shadek Galactus.
Right, but so, in this case, it was
this whole story revolves around that point in Marvel history, giving the nullifier to Reed to make Galactus go away. And the reason you make Galactus go away, you don't want him to eat the planet because you don't want him killing the Celestial seed for this storyline.
That's what his reason is. But it's not the same as the reasoning of the Uatu in the main Marvel universes, which was, well, this planet's really interesting and I'd get bored without it.
Well, okay, so Kazan just said, is he a villain because of direct action or because of passive observation? Knowing
that's what I was getting at.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that was his direct action, was giving the ultimate nullifier to Reed.
But it's direct action we've already seen as part of like canon.
Right. Yeah. But like that's why like I feel like in a lot of stories they made him out to be somebody who wants to like not get involved, but he really wants humanity to thrive. But they flip this to like, no, he wants the Celestial to be born. You know,
They switch the flip, and then they're in their head. Yeah.
And
Somebody
so many
will get
people,
that line.
So many people die in this book too. Like by the time we get to the end,
Oh yeah.
it's I don't know. It's a difficult read. In that sense, you know, Tony sacrifices himself. Can't remember if Reed dies or not.
Everybody dies. Everybody.
Yeah, it's a tough read. I gotta say that. Like, it's an interesting story, but if you love the MCU, this is not written by somebody I think who loves the MCU.
The deep philosophical prose that is in this book, which I mean resembles a lot of what you'd read in like Confucius, is kind of a slog for me. I found it really interesting, and I just like pranced through it. But for most people, that's going to be like, I'm either going to need a lot of alcohol, or I'm going to have to be really bored to read this. But it's worth it. It is worth it. I'm saying it's worth it to read it. Yeah.
Being a giant Spider-Man fan and a Peter Parker fan in particular, it's not as difficult. They do a lot of weird things with him in this book, but he's also kind of a sidelined a lot in this. So it's easier to take, where I think an X-Men fan, other than, being a big Colossus fan, but they do like a lot of weird things. Because then, like, if the whole war between the mutants and the humans is nullified because everyone's a mutant, like, well, then what's the point of the X-Men? And that's why I was like, I feel like
that's the old line from The Incredibles: if everybody's a mutant, then nobody is. Right?
Exactly. And again, just the dark version of the universe. Like you've said this, John. A lot of people make this joke: are we on the darkest timeline? And I think this is the darkest timeline for the MCU.
For the MCU, yeah.
Yeah.
For us, not so much. It's it's a more hopeful than what we've got right here. Sorry, but
Kassan says, do you hate it when heroes fail? I feel like Scott Summers falls into that category from his portrayal in X-Men 97.
When heroes give up.
There's a difference between failing and giving up. Like you can try and fail, but if you just give up, that's different. And Scott doesn't give up in X-Men 97. He doesn't really give up in this book either. He gets forced to lead the new X-Men, but he doesn't really give up. Failure is necessary in a hero's journey. They need to hit rock bottom to rebuild something stronger. Yes, I agree. Yeah. There's a huge difference between walking away and letting something bad happen and trying and failing. So I think we're on the same page, Kassan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the big twist at the end, right? You find out you find out that Galactus is Franklin. What X-51 makes doesn't kill Uatu, but makes him deaf at that point too, right? So he can't see or hear anymore.
And it was X-51's betrayal of Uatu at just the right moment that saved the timeline, basically.
I can't say saves humanity, saves mutant kind.
Yeah.
Right.
Save something. I mean, hey, at that point, saving anything was
the whole
like
thing
worth
too,
it.
right? Like Reed is blaming himself for what happens to humanity, but the truth is, it's the celestial seed and the Terrigen that Black Bolt released that actually affected humanity.
Yeah,
it's not what Reed did. So, which is
fucking
like
Inhumans.
Yeah,
I love it. The X-Men kicked their asses so hard. I was just wonderful.
They have tried so hard for many years to make the Inhumans work,
and they just don't. They're always the villains. They
Well,
even when they're not.
Well, because how can you have a people that's like, oh, we live in the moon and we're good guys. Oh yeah, there's other Inhumans that don't have power. Oh, what do you do to them? Oh, make them our slaves.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh,
I mean,
okay, good guys, huh? Okay.
and they live on the moon and they only get involved, once in a while. Like they don't. Yeah, it's such a.
And when they do,
You know what? They are like, if you ever watch YouTube, there's the Comics Explained, and he like anytime when he's going over a comic book that the Inhumans come up, he's like, oh, by the way, Black Bolt sucks, and he hates them so bad that for April Fools this year, he came out with a video. It's like, okay, we're gonna go over why Black Bolt is awesome. That was his whole April Fool's thing.
I love that dude. Yeah, I love that dude. Yeah, so great. It was so great to see Black Bolt like blow his own head out in Multiverse of Madness.
I know. Which wasn't out of character.
No. And then in the X-Men verse Inhumans, sorry, real quick, but it's awesome the way they take him out, because like Emma Frost goes into a club that he's in and basically talks shit to the point where he's going to kill Emma Frost with his sound powers. But they quickly do a turnabout face, and Emma Frost is actually Dazzler. So he fucking shouts at Dazzler, who just takes all that sound energy and fucking nukes him. And it's great.
I just want to let people know, I got a message from JD. He got his power back, but now he's got to go do his other podcast,
yeah, because we went long. It's wow.
The Mike and JD show where he talks wrestling. But I will say this: fuck you, JD. All right.
No.
I love him like a brother, but he's a pain in the ass sometimes. All right, yeah. So I think long story short, if you've got
it's a flavor.
If you've got time and you want to take a different look at the MCU, it's worth a read. But if you are easily depressed, maybe avoid this book.
Yeah,
I dig that. Yeah.
Also, if you like deep philosophical questions,
big time,
that of course, which never have an answer, this is probably right up your alley.
If you like deep philosophical questions about the morality of good and evil and what's right and what's wrong, read Kingdom Come. And I'm a Marvel guy, and I'm saying read Kingdom Come. It's the same idea done better. Like, I honestly, that was the only other thing I was going to say. They could have cut this in half. This could have been or at least a 10-issue story. They went way too deep in this.
I will, again, me being the DC guy, Kingdom Come was done at a better level for normal comic readers. This...
Agreed.
This read was done at a college level philosophy course level. So, pick your poison.
Kassan says depression and misery makes me feel. Kassan, maybe you should look up BetterHelp. I think that's a good place to start.
You know what made me feel something is thinking about somebody's got to change the Hulk's diapers.
Oh my God! I don't even want to think about that. That was such a weird. That was such a weird choice. They made Bruce Banner a kid riding around on a Hulk who looks like an ape in this book.
Green ape.
A green ape wearing a diaper, and Bruce can't see, but he sees through the Hulk's eyes, and the Hulk can't speak anymore.
They never went into exactly how that happened. So
and what's her face? I can't think.
Betty.
No. Stephen Strange's love.
Oh, Thea. Was it Thea? Yeah.
Kills Stephen. It's just like, oh my God! Like, you just did not like the MCU. All right, let's.
I think
we've killed this enough. Let's bring this in for a landing. All right, so let's go around the room. Please tell me, gentlemen, do you have any recommendations, or did you learn anything on the podcast this week?
We're not even going to rate this. It's just like,
we're not going to rate that. I think we all kind of say, like, read it, but read it at your own risk. It's going to take a while. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can download it for free right now and read it. So, all right, Don, you can go first.
What I learned is that our buddy 8-Bit Ray will not allow us to speak ill of Larfleas. So, learned that today. As far as recommendations, though, yeah, John, stop everything you're fucking doing and watch X-Men, please. Do yourself a favor.
It is.
I love you
really
too much. You're
I will
wasting your
get to
time
it.
with everything else.
This is on my permanent list. I will get to it.
And Shogun. Everyone watch Shogun. It's a great show.
Yeah, you're not the only one that said that. All right, fine, fair enough.
Wonderful.
All right, John.
Well, like I said, I'm on episode 4 of Fallout on Amazon Prime, and well worth it. Well freaking done. That joins the very, very few video game live action adaptions that actually worked. So poor
Halo's not that bad.
What?
Halo's not that bad.
It's still not as good as some of the others. Like,
agreed.
But yeah, I like this is one of the top 4. Fallout is, and
Okay.
yeah, so that's it. And you know, I would say read Earth X2. Just make sure you either have a bunch of alcohol or you are well rested before you read it.
Yeah, I had a couple drinks tonight. I'm a little buzzed, so I'm gonna say that like this is the right temperament to read Earth X. Nothing like a depressant to chase away the blues.
I guess that's why they call it the blues.
What did I learn? I learned that that Don is willing to look past a lot of sins towards the X-Men as long as they make Colossus look cool.
True. Hashtag truth.
And I also learned that I probably should check out Fallout because a lot of people are talking about it. Again, I didn't play the game, but I don't think that's needed for this, right?
No, it's not. But it does fill in some of the background and some of the you'll get some of the Easter eggs,
right?
But otherwise, it's kind of a weird dystopian show. But if you do want to play Fallout 4 first, and then maybe try some of the others. It's also well worth a try.
All right. I will recommend that if you're watching this right now, you've gotten this far in the show, please smash that like button. We need it. It helps with the algorithm. And then if you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. And you know what? I don't have a gift for it, but, comment, too. That helps as well. If you think we are complete and total morons, which we are, let us know. If you think we're right, which maybe we are, let us know. We love all our fans. We really do, because, we have no lives. I also recommend that you go to superheroespeak.com where you can find the podcast every week. I also post the interviews and the rants on there. Links to all our social media at the top of the page. Comic book reviews and so much more. Like, just make sure you check it out. And yeah, and I've got nothing because I don't know what we're talking about next week yet. I've got a lot going on in my personal life, so it's hard to figure out one day to the next, let alone.
Let me give it a thought. I'll see what I can.
All right. John is
Dungeons and Dragons. No, sorry.
Pre-warning.
Just like
pre-warning. Okay, so Kazan said he didn't play the game either. Pre-warning: if John comes up with the idea for next week, I can't promise what it's going to be. On that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.